All right. Hopefully everyone's having a good morning, night, wherever you are. This one I wanted to do. I have not seen this yet, as with a lot of videos so I do. I just deep dive in. I just saw about a couple minutes of this, and that's it. Remote viewer Dan Smith on NHI content on human intelligence, Psionics, and UFO disclosure. Thought this is nice look at Italian UFO thing that happened over there, or researchers over there. So let's get to the nitty-gritty here. This is from watchmojo.com. I'll give them a shout out, leave them a like. This is, of course, freedom of the press. Just to get the message out, get the truth out. If there is truth to this and everything, what's going on. I'd like to go over it because I like to give my own experiences with this stuff and everything, and go over it. So leave a comment, leave a like.
Human entities and non-physicals, I think it goes back to something like 1890 that we have on record. There's 110,000 pages of literally go off the deep end with what they encounter and what they see. At the earliest stages of people talking to non-human entities and non-physicals, I think it goes back to something like 1890 that we have on record. There's 110,000 pages of CIA, Stargate information out there. Everyone out there can do remote viewing or use their psychic or intuitive ability.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Watch Mojo and Unveiled. I'm your host Rob, and I'm back again to talk a little bit more about UAP disclosure news. Today's guest is Daz Smith. He is a remote viewer with over 25 years of experience, and Daz is trained in the military technique called CRV, or controlled remote viewing. Hey Daz, how's it going? Thanks for joining us today.
Hi there, yeah, I'm looking forward to having a chat with you.
So am I. You came very, very highly recommended, I have to say. Not only did one of my personal friends introduce me to your work, but also Richard Dolan, who I had the pleasure of interviewing recently, spoke very highly of you. I know you've worked together. And then through your website, I also found out that you have done work with the Farsight Institute. And I recently spoke to their founder, Courtney Brown, about remote viewing. That was a very interesting interview. So I'm really looking forward to getting into this with you, because remote viewing is kind of a buzzword right now. A lot of people are talking about it, in large part due to the recent interviews with whistleblower Jake Barber, which started with his News Nation interview with Ross Coulthard, and then subsequent interviews that he did. So we'll get into all that. Sorry for this long-winded introduction, but let's start by just talking about your background.
I think when it comes to non-human intelligence, we've been doing that for thousands, ever since the beginning of time. There are people hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands of years, having seances to speak with other spirits, the dead, everything else. And, having secret societies around the world, whether it be in Rome, whether it be in Egypt, whether it be in Persia, whether it be in Israel, France, Russia, or the United States, wherever, UK. It's something we've always been into in secret clubs and societies have been, trying to do. And some with success, some not so, some fake, of course, most. This is nothing new. Remote viewing I know about for a couple decades.
How you got into this, and a little bit about the work that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I've had a lifelong interest in remote viewing, but uh, before that, I was trained in what I call the classical psychic techniques. So that's the things that most people are aware of. You know, things like clairvoyance, mediumship, and divination, using all kinds of tools like Ouija boards, tarot cards, tea leaf reading. You
Right.
know, crystals, and you name it. I trained in it for many years before I found remote viewing. So I've pretty much been.
I say nobody do Ouija board stuff. I've heard of people getting killed with that stuff. I've heard of a Ouija board, that Ouija object actually impaling, stabbing somebody. I've heard bloody stories from people that have been around Ouija boards. That's something not to get into, I'd say. Do not get into that. I say that's like black magic. Very dangerous. I don't care what he says. He has no experience. I don't care. I've had too many people with personal experience, family experiences, that have told me, it's caused death, and demons, demonic possession as well. Stuff that'll give you nightmares and death and stuff like that. I heard too many dark stories, nightmarish type stories from Ouija boards.
Into
Never
psychic stuff my entire life. Started off with a classical training, and then coincidentally
red
at a
flag.
UFO conference in 1992 in Leeds here in the UK, I
Yeah.
first heard about remote viewing. They claimed to have a person on the stage who came to work for the US military, and he was being hired to look at where UFOs come from and then try to back engineer where they came from and how the technology worked. And the moment I heard the word psychic spies, I was hooked, and I've literally spent every year since 1992 learning this process and trying to disseminate as much information about it as possible.
So where does that bring you today? What kind of work are you doing in remote viewing right now?
Yeah, well, luckily I'm one of the very few people. There's probably only about 10 or 20 of us on the planet that we know of that are what we call full-time remote viewers. So I'm hired, or I'm employed by a company called Future Forecasting Group. We've been going for 9 years now, and essentially it's paid for by subscription. Our subscribers, help fund what we do. But we look at things like gold and silver markets, the S&P 500, and cryptocurrencies, and we look ahead and we give advice on using remote viewing on whether the market is going to go up and down, or if they got a good or bad feeling. But we also do other things like we do monthly
like that.
predictions
That's
as
how
well.
it's supposed
So
to be for.
every month, as we approach the end of, say for example, approach the end of January, I and the other remote viewers in the team would look ahead.
I have my own reservations, stuff I don't like about, the ancient days. We're called soothsayers, people with psychic ability, stuff like that. This is thousands of years ago. The 1900s, there's psychic came out, stuff like that. But I don't like it when it's done for money gains. I think that's wrong. But I can see why people do it, of course. I can see why. It's just, I don't like that part. That's a stupid human thing, is money, but I can see why. I think that's a dishonest, I'd say dishonest part of that. But me, I'm a spiritual thing, but I mean, who doesn't want to know about stocks, S&P futures, and crypto? But I don't know. I don't like people too much. They're too into money. I don't. But
and see what the top news stories for February would be, and then we would put them out as predictions for our subscribers. So that's one side of what I do, and that's essentially a full-time job for me. But I also run lots of other little projects on the side. I run a couple of other groups, one being what I call the Hellfire Club, and we look at woo-woo targets through that. and I'm mentoring on the side as well. So I
Sightings.
mentor people in remote viewing. So I'm doing lots and lots of things RV based, but yeah, it's essentially
Remote
a 7 day a week kind of business for me now.
What do you mean when you say woo-woo targets that you look
Yeah.
at with the Hellfire Club? What does that mean?
Woo woo is like the kind of like modern word now for paranormal or esoteric or mysteries targets. So essentially, we look at
It's a
mysteries targets
stupid
in the
word.
Hellfire Club, and with the Hellfire Club, I essentially went on the internet and I curated the best remote viewers that I could possibly find, and then asked them if they'd like to work on mysteries targets.
stupid.
And we do it in a rota basis because, as remote viewers, we work blind, so that we can't know anything about a target. So it's very hard for us as a remote viewer to work
Why do
anything
that?
we haven't that personally interest us, because we can't for example, I can't say to myself, I really want to look at the Loch Ness monster and find out what's going on there, because I'm not blind to it. So as remote viewers, we all accumulate a list of things that we'd want to look at in our lifetime, and that's what we do in the Hellfire Club. We take it in a rota basis. So we work the target, then once every 8 or 9 targets, we get a chance to set a target as well. So yeah, that's the benefit of that for me, is having remote viewers work the targets that I always wanted to work, and then hopefully getting from them targets back that might be on my list as well. But who knows?
But you wouldn't know that it's your target until after the
No,
process.
everything's always blind. Every target's always given to us, hidden behind a random number, and we don't know anything until it's over. Of course, in the Hellfire Club, we kind of know that the target will be some kind of woo-woo kind of mysteries or something related. So we are a little bit front-loaded in that respect. Normal RV, you don't really know anything at all.
What can you tell me a little about the process of how it works? I know that I spoke previously with Dr. Courtney Brown about the CRV practice, but can you go in depth a little bit about how that works? I know it has military origins, but does that differ in any way from the process that you practice, or is it very much related?
It's very much related. I was in 1997. I was taught CRV, or controlled remote viewing, by an ex-special forces soldier. I was taught that in London over a period of 4 days. And CRV essentially comes from from Ingo Swann, who we call the father of remote viewing, because he invented the word remote viewing. But during his employment by SRI, Stanford Research Institute, from the years 1972 to 1986, during that period of time, the clients came to SRI, and the clients being the military and intelligence agencies like the DIA and CIA. They wanted a technique that they could, because there was only a certain number of psychics that SRI had under their hood. So they wanted SRI, who was using Ingo Swann at the time as a subcontractor, to come up with a teachable methodology that they could then go on to teach soldiers and teach intelligence people on down the line. And Ingo, after around about 5 years of research, he started it in 79 and he finished his methodology in 85. He spent all those years dissecting his own internal processes and then recreating it in what we know today as controlled remote viewing, or CRV, which is essentially a very mechanical 6-stage process where you start off with very basic data at the target, and as you move through the processes, the data and the window to the target expands, allowing more and more complex data to come through to the remote viewer.
What is the connection between remote viewing and UAP that is being spoken about right now?
UFO.
Jake Barber has described what he refers to as psionics in the military, who have they have the capability of summoning or inviting UAP to appear, and then they have interactions. Has there always been this connection between remote viewing and UFO phenomena, or is this something that we're seeing more recently?
No, there's definitely always been a connection, and to be honest, it probably goes back way beyond that as well, because you can see many stories going back to the 50s, 60s, and maybe even the 40s and earlier, of psychics that have what we call channeled conversations, or they have communications in some other psychic format with what we call non-physical beings or non-human kind of entities.
That goes back forever. It's not just back then. It goes way back. I mean, you can't even go back to Um, I mean, you could say Egyptians, goes back a lot further. People just have, those abilities to sense the supernatural, the paranormal stuff. So that's not really accurate. It's been there forever. Where people have been able to do that or sense other entities, feel them or see them or whatever. That's
We can't prove
goes
these
back
beings
forever,
exist
so.
at this state in our science technology, but that kind of stuff goes back way before modern remote viewing, really, and even the modern wave of UAPs, I'd say, the earliest stages of people talking to
UFOs,
non-human
not
entities and
UAPs,
non-physicals, I think goes back to
UFOs.
something like 1890 that we have on record. So
No,
it's always
wait,
been there,
yeah,
but
it goes
generally
way
in the
back. That's
background.
the record,
But those
but-
within remote viewing and who practice remote viewing know that even from the early days of the early 70s at SRI, they started encountering potentially looking at UAP type craft and non-human life form, but using remote viewing, which is slightly different than the classical techniques in that all remote viewing is done within a set of rules or protocols that try to keep it more scientific and testable. So under those
Right.
circumstances,
Yeah.
from the early days of
There's a
1972 onwards, there was this UAP kind of crossover with everything that it was doing with remote viewing. And it also, we have to bear in mind as well that one of the people that is at the core of UAP disclosure, Hal Puthoff, was also the person that started the remote viewing program in the 70s, and he saw all the way through to 1985 when he left the program for looking at 0 point energy. So there's always been that connection from him as well. So it's a complex answer there I have to give you on this. Remote viewing's always been entwined with it, but then again, all psychic kind of connections had a non-human, non-physical life form communication thing going on there way before remote viewing was invented.
There are numerous declassified documents that are readily available with a quick Google search. You can access from the 80s and 90s, disclosing programs that the government spent lots of money on, and they wouldn't have done that for no reason. Why do you think this hasn't been more widely spoken about in the public discourse over the years?
It's a strange one, isn't it? I mean, for me, it's it's common knowledge and everyone that I know, but I guess that's because we're really into the remote viewing side. I don't know how to answer that, really.
Well, a lot of this, I mean, for me and for other people that I've known, a lot of stuff is demonic to religious people. And this goes into the realm of Satan and demons and other stuff. You don't mess with this stuff. Like I said, some of the stuff I don't like. There's stuff that I'm not liking about this guy. Red flags. I don't know. With some of his words. I don't want to do this. Where Ouija boards. That's dangerous. Because demons, you have to worry about demonic. Demons are real, very real. There's bad, evil spirits, and so many people. I remember hearing, people stories from Mexico, South America, and secondhand, firsthand, from people being attacked, Ouija board, from doing Ouija boards, all kinds of different stuff. It could be different people, but the main of all these hundreds or thousands of stories is that these Ouija boards have a law of evil. And there's no way I'd touch that shit. This woo-woo stuff, I don't like that, what he's using with that. I don't like him using stupid UAP stuff. It's like they use UAP, try and make themselves be look legitimate. It's like me, we use that UFOs. UAP is an aerial phenomenon. UFO is object. There's differences, and I don't care what he can and can't do. But
Other than there seems to be a strong effort by people out there at all parts of our society to try to keep the knowledge and the use of intuition and paranormal ability.
well, like I keep saying, they want to weaponize it. They want to mold people into super psychic soldiers. And there's a human trafficking, there's a lot of illegal activity and crimes going on with having a lot of stuff, these programs, and keeping them secret, keeping it out of government oversight, and keeping out the outside rules, regulations, government regulations, and so it's criminal activity, and like I said, the religious part and everything, but it's not. Theory is not, unless you get in touch with the wrong spirits.
At bay and at a minimum, really. So I really do think it's been swamped. For example, Google right now. If I try to do a search for remote viewing on Google, none of what I would call the most comprehensive, the most credible websites with the most information come up in the first 10 pages of Google.
They don't.
It is almost like it's been blacklisted, but we can't prove it.
Yeah, it is. Google censors stuff. Yahoo search engines do. A lot of the American ones, definitely. You probably use in different countries and see what it does. But Google, Yahoo, some search engines are want to keep the truth out. They, including sometimes Twitter X. I was talking to a lady about in John Brennan, where there's that video where he said we can now control the weather. That was all taken off. I was having a conversation with a lady and a weather person. And I had the proof, we had the video. That was mysteriously taken down by X. Twitter. It was taken off by Google, YouTube, Yahoo. All these took them off. They do not want all the truth out there either. They don't. And what they're trying to do is help enable the government to keep this stuff secret. I had the video, I should have recorded it. Thing is, if I record it, they're to still take it down like they did last ones. So, I mean, that's what John Brennan, former director of the CIA, said. We can now control the weather. That's what he said. And Forbes said after these videos were taken down, they said that was fact-checked and it was wrong, that never happened. It did happen. So you have media, these companies, censoring the truth as well on all different things, psychic stuff, people having auras. You ain't gonna find people in auras on there. What auras look like, because we all have an aura, we all have an energy field around us and everything. There's so much stuff that these places are censoring. There's a lot that they're not, also.
It's been blacklisted as a topic. But yeah, I really don't know why the public hasn't caught on till now. As you said, the documents are out there. There's 110,000 pages of CIA Stargate information out there. And that was when the CIA worked from 72 to 1995 on it, 23 years, to the tune of something like $24 million over those 23 plus years. And that's not a lot, $1 million a year, but it's a substantial program. And we know that wouldn't have been continued year after year if they didn't meet the requirements for the Congress.
It is a lot more. That's just what's publicly known, what they're willing to acknowledge. It's a lot more. Or is that times than that? A lot more. And, these places are censoring. The stuff that I got, the papers that I got, that's only like 5 pages, or a few pages, I say 5 pages. So they are censoring all this other stuff. So we have to find alternate ways around Google, YouTube, and find stuff sometimes.
Congressional and scientific oversight committees, because they have those each year, you see, and you can see that in the documentation. Each year, to get the funding for the following year, they had to prove that they were actually getting results.
You have to go
and they
through
managed to do that
Black
for a
Web
continuous 23 years.
So after all this time, what do we know about what they were up to and what they achieved? How much do we actually know about Project Stargate?
Yes, some of it's still hidden. Some of it I don't think would ever reach the light of day. In fact, there are rumors that a lot of the documentation was even shredded at one point.
Yeah.
But we know that they had an active program. There was this what we call a code war between the Russians doing this kind of stuff, the Chinese doing this kind of stuff, and the Americans doing it as well. Each country had their own programs.
Well, the thing is, in Russia, they were far more advanced, the Russians were. And so the CIA has said, some people said, hey, we got to do something. It's probably just a bunch of witchcraft or something, or theatrics. But we need to get in on this. And when we did, went to universities and started looking into this stuff and hearing stories from other people, because a lot of people from the CIA that were there were from secret societies, including the presidents. Most presidents are from secret societies as well. They in these secret societies, there's a paranormal aspect of demons, angels, UFOs, the paranormal from thousands of years back, hundreds of years back. And they get up in government, they hear stories, they also hear stories from their wives, family, or others, etc. And it's like they hear things, and so that's how the U.S. got.
And we know that Stargate. It went under many names before that. I think there were around about 6 to 7 names for the programs, and it changed like every 3 or 4 years. It was it had very good results. The official close of it with the CIA come up with a contrived report that there was no evidence of it being of any intel use. But you only have to do a deep dive into the 110,000 pages to find numerous reports from the CIA, the DIA, the NSA, and even drug agencies that were using remote viewers to look for drugs on ships that were being brought in and stuff. They were getting accurate and very actionable intel for decades. So it does work. But why hasn't been?
And for some of these remote viewers, sometimes using some drug or cocktail to get them in that mind, in that frame, to remote view, to relax them and stuff.
More known, I really don't know to this day. I mean, it's getting there now with the with all this disclosure and psionics and stuff.
So something else that Jake Barber mentioned in a recent interview, and I'm going to keep coming back to him because I have a lot of questions about, and he's being spoken about a lot right now, but it was different methods. This was during his interview with Jesse Michaels. He described various methods for psychics to get into the remote viewing state, which is something that I hadn't heard before, and I thought it was interesting. I'd like to get your opinion on it. There's through meditation. I mean, this is the most typical one that you would hear about, but he said it can also be stress induced. You can put your body through a stress response to get into the frame of mind that you can achieve remote viewing, or it can be chemically induced with drugs. How can you, like, what comments do you have on that? Are you familiar with these practices? And
I'm not familiar with stress-induced remote viewing to get you into the state. They did lots of research for this during the Stargate early years, and generally they use meditation, because they sent people on courses to the Monroe Institute where they use gateway tapes, which plays different, binaural beats and different frequencies to try and get you into altered states, alpha, theta, delta. I can't remember which one, to be honest. So a lot of people use those. General basic meditation techniques, they absolutely work as well. Many of us use those within the remote viewing field. I haven't heard the forced stress. I guess that could work. But the problem is, remote viewing as a process is so subtle that even the smallest thing, and I would have thought the stress inducement of it, I would have thought that, to be honest, from my experience, that would hinder remote viewing more than help it. For example, if I literally only have to have an argument with someone by email, or me and my wife have
drugs make you see drugs. That kind of stuff can make you see things or think things. Drugs will hijack your thought process. So I mean, you gotta take stuff when people use drugs like that with a grain of salt. Whether what they're seeing, what they're doing is real. The only way you can know that is if there's results from the other side. What how that. But yeah, that's not the right way of doing it, though. But
word with each other an hour before I'm doing remote viewing, and then that sits heavy in my head, because I'm constantly churning over. So that would have a negative effect on me remote viewing. So I don't know how they would get better results by inducing stress. All the research I've seen so far shows that reducing stress and eliminating stress makes you a better remote viewer. But as I said, anything can. It's so subtle as a process. Anything can affect remote viewing. We even think that maybe even sunspots or geomagnetic storms, all kinds of things like where, maybe even solar activity or where the moon phases are. There's evidence to support that even those could even affect, the quality of a remote viewing on a remote viewer on any given day, to be honest.
Then there was also the question of chemically induced, like using drugs, which kind of relates to psychedelic experiences, I guess. Different psilocybin or LSD type drugs. How do those affect a remote viewing experience, to your knowledge?
I don't have a huge amount of experience on that, other than I've done a couple of RV sessions, pretty drunk on tequila and vodka, and I've had really good remote viewing sessions with those, because they have kind of relaxed me and gotten, because essentially what you're doing with remote viewing is you're trying to get rid of the day-to-day noise so you can concentrate and hone in on as I said, the very subtle signals that bubble up for your consciousness. I do know a lot of people that do smoke marijuana and have tried other stuff, and they've also said that they've had really good psychic and remote viewing experiences off that as well.
There's
so
a bad
I would have thought that they would work.
But
as with everything in life, we're all individuals, so what works for one person might not work for the next person next to them. So you would have to find what was your kryptonite, or what was your spinach kind of thing from Popeye days.
You mentioned the Monroe Institute, and that's interesting because I know that the Gateway process videos are available on YouTube. Like, anybody can access that. Is that a legit method of being able to achieve these states? Like, is that something that you would recommend to somebody who would be interested in practicing this?
Absolutely, yeah. I tried it for the first couple of years, and it worked well for me. I then moved on to just basic, meditations that I got off of YouTube. 5-10 minute guided meditations. And now, because I've been doing it for so long myself, I pretty much don't need anything anymore. But if I do feel a little bit stressed, for me, I just listen to like soundtracks or classical music. My favorite being the soundtrack of Interstellar. 10 minutes of listening to that with my eyes closed, I'm in a relaxed state. I'm not thinking about paying the rent or whatever bad emails come through, and it allows me just to get into the state of remote viewing as a process. But you don't really need any of this stuff, to be honest. Everyone out there can do remote viewing or use their psychic or intuitive ability. It's just that if you want to get really good over time and become dependable, then you start looking into these tools to try to get you into that state, just so that you can get, if you can add an extra 10% accuracy to your RV data, then that that's a huge benefit.
Is there a baseline that everybody kind of has, or does it vary a lot from person to person in terms of the capability? Because I want to tie this to something else that came up recently, which is a documentary podcast called The Telepathy Tapes, which, if you're familiar with that,
that's good.
They were basically doing experiments with autistic children, nonverbal autistic kids, and seeing that they had tremendous telepathic connections most of the time with their mothers, and the results were pretty astounding. So because they had autism, is that something that really augments the...
It's still scary that one of the kids that I knew, I was with a mother of an autistic child, stuff like that. Scares me of any type of psychic connection, with how much sex we had and everything else, as we were going like bunny rabbits 24/7. Just about, but anyways,
the telepathic nature of their abilities, or is this something that anybody can really do?
Yeah, we don't know in this regard. That's opened up whole new avenues of research, I would say. It's very interesting that they've taken away one sense, I guess, and it's augmented and made the other ones, or at least the intuitive or psychic one, that much stronger. I'd like to see it. To be honest, I think it's amazing. It's a great podcast. I'd like to see more research on that. But we do know that what you are as a remote viewer or psychic, or whatever you want to term this, psionic or anything, because it has all different meanings and names now. What you are in life, your skills, your natural abilities, and your talents in your general life, you, especially in remote viewing, you bring that into your productivity as a remote viewer. So, for example, I've been a graphic designer of logos and all kinds of web pages and everything my entire life. So, for me, drawing and sketching from any dimension or any angle within remote viewing is very easy. But I sometimes find it hard to diagnose or look at a person or a life form's body at a target site and try to determine its physical health state. Whereas some of my students that I've taught, for example, are nurses and doctors, and they're incredibly good at looking inside life forms and understanding their physical state of mind, their mental state of mind, because they've been.
This is one thing that, I've done some nursing stuff like that. Been around the medical field. There's that empathic thing as well, being empath. It's like we can feel other people's pain, suffering. I don't know about them. I'm talking about myself and stuff like that. And sometimes using abilities to try and either ki or chi, sometimes or whatever, trying to heal as well. And sometimes, when a person is in pain more, because you can read them, you can read their bodies, you can see it in their bodies. Sometimes you can see where they're hurting and stuff like that. A lot more. That's more of the things that I can have a lot more of than there are people that don't see that stuff. So there are different also types of psychic abilities, stuff like that. So.
Been doing that for 10, 20, 30 years within their day-to-day life, and they have the knowledge to fall back upon. So I do think that you bring your whatever life skills, your natural things that you hone in life or you come into life with into your psychic practices. And I think that's what the children are doing in their telepathy tapes. But to a degree that we've never seen before with some of the stuff that they're going into with the hill and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty amazing, and I can't wait to see more on that one.
Same here. Another interesting thing on the note of children that Jake Barber brought up or alluded to was that they have used children in the military to basically interact with UAP, ETs, etc.
So
I have a problem with that one.
illegal.
That's the biggest. I like Jake, and I thought him incredibly credible.
The reason why I'm so against is because they're weaponizing them. They're weaponizing them using military tools or assets with these kids. That is very illegal. Very illegal. They know they're not supposed to do that, and they're doing this human trafficking thing around the world. Their countries are too. So this is wrong. I mean, I don't care what he or anybody else says. That is wrong. That is, you're weaponizing children, using it for, military purposes and applications. That is fucking evil.
The interviews I saw, but that was the one point that irked me, and it's only because of I spent 30 odd years researching this. The Stargate documents we talked about, the 110,000 pages that were released, I've read every single one of those pages. I have them on my computer, a database, so I can search inside them, for example, for single keywords. So I know them extensively, and I know that just in the Stargate program that went on from 72 to 95, in just using soldiers within a remote viewing program, they had all these scientific oversight committees, but they had kind of like medical oversight committees as well, where they had very strict rules of what they could do and how they could use these soldiers. And and I can't tell you how strict it was, but the documents there detailing it. So I find it very hard to believe that they any kind of military or rental mechanism looking into remote viewing would use children, because as I said, the human use papers that I saw, they were so strict for soldiers. I just can't I just cannot see that being allowed, unless things have changed since then, unless the programs are so dark, they're so deep. Maybe they are not actually deep. Military programs. Maybe dark. They're embedded in some way in some kind of special access program that doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be signed off by anyone in a military way. Do you know what I mean? It might be hidden in such a way that they can get away with it. If it were a pure military program, because I've seen the human use documentation that they had for Stargate, I can't believe that would be allowed.
Right, or if it's private companies that are...
This is something these guys are not talking about. It is sick and disgusting. It is sick and disgusting. This would be another reason why they don't want disclosure. They don't want people now sick of... Let me tell you, I can remote view on some stuff and see how dark this is. And I just see total pitch black darkness. I see evil. I feel evil. I see that. It's like you're going down a hallway and all you see is darkness and evil, and the hallway gets darker and darker until there's nothing but darkness of what's going on with this and evil. It says you feel evil around it.
Are conducting experiments like this.
I think they might be able to hide it and get away with it a lot better than a government organization, like the military.
Yeah, that really struck me as like a moral issue.
He doesn't get it. These other guys do not get it until he said it himself. There's like too dumb, it seems like, to see that. And he just now getting it a little bit. I get that right from the get-go. I understand it. This is sick and disgusting. with kids.
From the things that he said,
Yes,
and
military
I
weaponizers.
actually hope that more information comes out on that, because I feel like that's a shocking statement for him to make, and something that a lot of people would draw issues with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been, as I said, I've been looking into the psychic stuff now pretty much most of my life. Let's say 42 years or so. I've encountered, and I encounter on a regular basis, people that try to get into psychic work and into remote viewing work, and because they don't have the right mental capabilities or the right state of mind, I've seen many people literally go off the deep end with what they encounter and what they see, and how it changes their viewpoint in life as well. Because
Yeah,
any
it
of us
does.
can be the most stable person, but then you actually do a couple of these remote viewing experiments, and you start to physically and mentally accept that as a being, you can go anywhere in time and space. That really does start to open up your mind to huge amounts of new possibilities and realms and experiences. And there are people, it's
frontiers.
documented. There are people that can't cope with that. During the Stargate, early days of Stargate, for example, when they sent someone to be tested and to learn them at the Monroe Institute how to do the Gateway experience, he didn't state that he was having a mental condition, so they didn't know that before they sent him. And him, during the Gateway process, he had a mental breakdown and he had to be removed for the entire program. He ended up wandering around the halls of the Monroe Institute naked, babbling all kinds of strange stuff. So we know this kind of thing happens, which is another reason why I would find it terrible. It really irks and upsets me if they.
This is the thing, is that I always don't have the stablest of mind either. You gotta know, it's like you have to be in the right frame of mind to do this, and there are people that have a lot more stable minds than I do. And with me already knowing stuff, and I've been around angels, demons, I've been attacked by demons, all kinds of crazy stuff. Most people are put in institutions for that. A lot of people commit suicide from experiences that I've had and everything. So, I mean, it's, you have to have a strong will, strong mind to be able to do this stuff. You have to have a calmer mind, mental illness won't help.
They are using children to do this because children are very susceptible, it's this kind of thing that we're playing with it, but it's not a toy to be played with. Really, people can be damaged by doing this. And literally just before I came on, I was just reading an article about some people here in the UK who decided to use CE5 techniques, which is trying to contact UAPs with in a psychic way.
UFOs.
All 5 of them then experienced
Not
missing
UAPs
time.
or UFOs.
One of them went under hypnosis to find that they all had typical abduction events because they called down one of these UAPs, and that kind of thing happens. So I think everyone has to be very wary, and if they are exposing children to that in some manner, that to me would be a heinous crime that's just unbelievable.
It is.
Something.
And this is the thing with David Greer. He does lie, saying that all ETs are good. They're not all good. There is sexual things that happen with abductions and everything like that. That is beyond criminal and stuff like that. And you do not want these evil ETs, coming to you, and you would not want to hail them, and contact them. So those you would not want. They have to be very careful, very, very careful. And some of these guys like Jake Barber and stuff, and some others, they seem to know how to do stuff a lot better. When even me doing that, I have to be careful and stuff like that, and I've just found nothing. So just about nothing in everything. But
Interesting. You brought up CE5 experiences, and Stephen Greer is somebody who's a big proponent of that. He does these meditation groups to invite UAP, and it's a controversial thing because, in his view, it seems that he thinks all ETs are good, benevolent beings, and then there's many other people who disagree with him, and they are wary of the dangers of inviting the wrong type of beings into the situation. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I'm definitely against what Greer's doing with that. I think everyone has to be careful. As I said, the experience those people went through with their CE5 and they were abducted. There's enough evidence out there going back decades to show that there are a certain part of the population of the Earth that are being interacted with by beings that we don't know where they come from. We're calling on them.
I mean, there have been stories through the ages of even ETs attacking or whatever. Of ETs attacking. So, I mean,
non-humans this current thread, and they are doing experiments, mental and physical, on these people, and there are even indications that they might be taking sperm and ova, maybe implanting babies, hybrids, all that kind of very strange stuff. I don't believe if you haven't given consent for that kind of thing, and so many people go through traumatic damage for decades. I can't believe that that's a good thing, and that's so I don't go with the.
Well, Stephen Greer, David Greer, whatever the hell, I can't get it. For some reason, I can't always get names right. It's probably because I was over-drugged on antipsychotics, and they really fucked my mind up really bad because these dumbass psychiatrists thought that I was seeing things, stuff like that, or they didn't believe me, and they are real. They've always been real. That does a lot in remembering people's names and everything. But Steve Greer, yeah, he's very dangerous. He's very dangerous to say, I know all, I'm the way, I'm the light, and everything like that. And he's putting out these lies. They're lies. And you can't trust anybody that says, I know everything. I know that all ETs are good. It's like, that's bullshit.
The thread of all non-humans or all the physical interaction that's happening is good. And we also have to add in, there are rumors, although they are rumors at this stage, of human mutilations, but we also know that there are huge amounts of documented cattle mutilations out there as well, which kind of look like they come from the same kind of being or the same kind of circumstances. So we have to bring all that into play as well. And that worries me, because if they can abduct a cattle and then mutilate it, take all its blood, do all kinds of strange stuff on it, they could also just get rid of the body, so that we didn't have any distress. But the fact that they are putting the body back in that kind of state, maybe to cause us distress, that concerns me, because that's not the actions of someone that's spiritual and wants spiritual development for all. That's not a good thinking being that's doing that kind of thing. So right. Yeah, sorry, it's a long-winded answer there, but it worries me greatly. There's more than enough evidence to show that he may be partly right, and I truly believe that there are good, spiritual, nice beings out there, but I think there's equally other ones that are interacting with us that have different aims that we may not like what their aims are.
The subject of cattle mutilations makes me think of places like Skinwalker Ranch or other places that have high levels of paranormal activity that have been investigated numerous times, and there are reports that people who go to these places and try to experience something that's there have profound effects on them that they can take home afterwards, that they can basically, they end up being haunted, for lack of a better term, and can pass it on to others. So like what other dangers are there when getting into this space of ET contact and communication?
Yeah,
Very
absolutely. I mean,
dangerous.
we also know, from the documents and the books that have come out that some of these people that have had close UAP experiences also have a lot of physical damage.
UFO.
So, they end up with things like cancers, which are bad. They end up with, diseases as well. So you have to be very careful, what you're doing if you're in a close proximity to, like, I guess it's the engines or the power sources of these being. Generally, what happens is kind of mental damage, psychological damage, but there are physiological damages as well that we have to be very careful from. And the hitchhiker effect is, yeah, it's a definite thing. We kind of see within a classical psychic training, but also a little bit of remote viewing, those kind of effects as well. Because, as I said, there is an effect when you open yourself up and you really truly believe and you
Evil
practice all
forces,
these techniques,
demonic
and
forces as
one
well.
technique leads to another, and you expand your own personal consciousness. The mere act of expanding your own consciousness means you do see more, you do understand more that's coming up around you as well. So just mere exposure to something esoteric on its own can, expand your universe of these experiences. It's just one of the natural facts that happens. And you don't have to have a UAP experience to have that. You can just have a really strong psychic experience that then starts to open up your consciousness. And by opening it up a little bit, it's like opening the crack of the door. You open it up a little bit and the wind catches it and it just opens up more and more and more, and more things happen to you.
Is there anything that you can do to protect yourself, or kind of like shield yourself from any negative effects?
Yeah, there are lots of classical techniques, psychic techniques generally.
As much as there's stuff that I disagree with this guy on, there's stuff that I do agree with him. And this is something that I want to keep going. And before I did this, I get like extremely tired. I got bad feelings about doing this. But I also wanted to. And I think this is the reason why. I felt things and stuff like that, but there's stuff we need to learn to try and shield ourselves.
Where you build, like, you kind of imagine shields around yourself, shields of energy and all that kind of stuff. There's a very good book called I think it's called Psychic Protection. It's a very old book from like 60s or 70s by a woman called Dion Fortune. So that has lots of very, what I call classical techniques to build yourself, these realms of protection. And
$18.90. Oh my gosh, she was only 55 or 56. We've done this for thousands of years. I mean, people have told me I've had, like, in one life, I was like, me, my mother, or other people were psychics back in Greece. I've had remote viewing. I've had psychic stuff with. Let's see. No. What is that? Landmass. What is that landmass that went under? What's that landmass? Jesus Christ, you idiot. Think of it. Atlantis, Greece, the connection. I have had visions of different places where you totally get to these places. It's like, and I see it on television, and I saw, this is from thousands of years ago. They unearthed this stuff in Greece or around there, and I had a vision of it, and then I saw it on television. Of stuff that happened thousands of years ago, and there's reincarnation and all this other stuff and everything. And you go backwards in time. You can do that, and She was young when she died. Let me see here. Where am I here? Right here.
You know, depending on your religious beliefs, you might want to call in, you know, whatever religious flavor you're into to help you, because all this is based around our human intent and our human belief systems. What is almost like when they say in the Matrix film, if you you know, because in the Matrix film, when they were believing it was happening to them in the Matrix, it made it so on their physical body. It's the same with everything that's happening around us in the consciousness and everything. We do as psychics and remote viewers. If we believe something's true, then it generally filters down for our system and becomes true. So, you know, there are several, you know, for example, there are remote viewers out there that believe absolutely you cannot make money from remote viewing or being psychic. And when they try to do it, they can't make money because that's their belief system. So yeah, your belief system massively impacts the universe you create around you, because we are almost creating our own individual universes with this.
Yeah, it sounds like you're talking about manifestation in essence.
Absolutely,
Yes.
it's manifestation
We
on all
do
levels.
that,
Yeah,
we do.
absolutely.
Our
The
beliefs
most
can shape
important
the
thing with
universe,
all that we found with remote viewing and how it works is
create-
the
Our psychic powers can actually create a false reality as well, a falseness. A false positive, I should say. And so it's like what we think is real, it's like, let's see. This is crazy part. That I think it should be another video. Because people are not going to understand that. They're not.
intent of everyone involved in the project, including the people that analyze it. Because if they, we find that if you have a person on the team that's analyzing the project and they're really abject skeptics, then that will have a negative effect on the data that comes through at all levels as well. Everyone's involved. In fact, we're all involved at every level. All our consciousness are intertwined, and that's essentially how remote viewing works as well.
What can you tell me about other psychic practices, like, for example, channeling or other things versus remote viewing? Like, how do they differ? What other practices exist, and what are the different applications for them?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, they've existed since the dawn of time, really.
Yeah,
the
they
main
have.
ones being,
I said that,
I would
yes.
say, clairvoyance. Just trying to see things into the future, and there are many hundreds or thousands of references of that. And you can go to pretty much any city, anywhere in the world, and find a
The thing
clairvoyant
is,
or some.
They changed the names of all the stuff over space and time and everything, where a lot of stuff is the same, they're just using different words for it.
One to tell you your future. I don't like using those practices anymore, because I find that they don't remove the possibility of other things happening. Whereas remote viewing, because the process is quite very scientific and it's hidden behind blindness and rules and regulations.
Right.
For me, it's a bit more proper, because I can prove that something
Right.
psychic took
Right.
place, and it was the information gathered wasn't by any other means. So I'm very wary of the other ones, but they work. And
In the old days, you had people robbing other people, say they could channel in spirits, they could do seances, and for every legitimate person that could do it, there's 100 more that were totally fake and ripping off the rich and the powerful. We did have psychics, back in the 1700s, 1500s, Nostradamus, stuff like that. We had also, let me see, that crazy guy from Russia, Rasputin. He could do some healing and stuff like that, but he was a horny guy. And he had a lot of orgies and other stuff, and though he could heal the prince and everything like that, he's had all these sex parties and everything else, and he helped destroy a lot of the monarchy and stuff, the good of what Russia was, and led them, and the Germans destroyed that, and Rasputin, the craziness of what he did help contribute to some of the downfall of the monarchy in Russia there. And you have this all through space and time. You have legitimate ones that royalty used, kings, queens, and other rich, powerful politicians have used them all. This is nothing new. This has been around forever, really. So,
remote viewing is no different than clairvoyance or channeling or mediumship, clairaudience, which is hearing voices and speaking to people. They're all the same thing. They all come from the same well. It's just that we filter it through ourselves and call it different things. And through remote viewing actually uses all those techniques that I just talked about, but within the scientific protocol that tries to keep it clean, tries to keep it very scientific, and you can validate the data afterwards. Which the other ones, to the majority, you can't do that.
Right. One thing that Courtney Brown discussed with me was how, for remote viewing, you are in control of your faculties while you're doing it, whereas something like channeling, you basically give yourself up to whatever is coming through you, which
that's dangerous.
It makes it so that you don't really have control over what is being delivered, the messages that are being delivered, and it could be anything coming through, like something deceptive or something truthful. You don't really know.
That's the same for like clairvoyance, mediumship, but mainly channeling. When you kind of launch yourself out there into the universe around us, and you start having conversations with, I guess, non-human life forms, because they have no physical form. And the majority of the time, because I spent probably about 10 or 12 years doing that before I started in the remote viewing field. And I even wrote a book on it called Surfing the Psychic Internet. And that was my conversations over 12 years with these non-humans. And, I met loads. Some were like alien-like, some were like angels, all kinds of things that we see in lore that's happened around Earth. And I have to be honest, a lot of them had spiritual intentions that were good for us, wanting us to develop, but there were also some devious ones there that didn't want us to develop. And, not just me, but a lot of people that have tried interacting with these non-humans at a different...
There are some bad spirits out there, definitely, that don't want us. They want us to be slaves. They want us to be enslaved. They don't want us to have the same powers and abilities that they do. We're a threat to them. And one thing is, our physical life forms, our flesh, we can't fight back all the time. If we're dead, if we were spirits, we have more of a chance to fight back, because our imaginations is what limits us in power a lot, So, I mean, that's another thing. We're just, the flesh is only a vessel. And when we open ourselves up for others to take over, that's a bad thing. That could be a bad thing. So that's where remote viewing is safer. And it's more legitimate. It's more proven. So that's why I like to use that instead of media stuff.
Different level, like channeling. There is a lot of information that comes through which does seem to have a trickster element to it. So they are lying and being devious for some reason. And maybe they get a kick. I don't know what's going on there, but there is definitely a trickster element which is removed through remote viewing, because, as you said,
98%.
There's two different ways. And the way I term it is, in all the classical techniques, I'm in a car, but I'm in the back seat, and the process or the psychic thing itself is in the driver's seat. So it's going along, and all I'm doing every now and then is looking out the window and catching something as I'm going along, but I don't have any control. What remote viewing, and especially controlled remote viewing and the derivatives do, is it then switches it around. So I'm in the passenger seat, I'm in a driver's seat, and I'm driving along, but I can stop the car, I can reverse the car, I can move the car, turn it right around, I can control where I go. I can turn it on and off, and I decide every part of the psychic process.
those others
That's the main difference
can't.
between
If it's
classical
real,
ways of
they
doing it
can't as
and the
much.
remote viewing way. We are, as remote viewers, in total control of the flow of information.
Now, there are some that I've seen, some people that can talk with the dead. They can control that. I have to put that disclaimer out there. They can control that stuff more. And they know, they have their boundaries and stuff like that. The spirits have their boundaries and stuff like that. They are legitimate. They're psychics to the stars. Like that. Where some of those are legitimate and stuff. That's about discovery. Those are like the legitimate ones. Versus the 98% or 95% that aren't. And they will fleece you, they want your money, and it's like, let's see, these people that are from Romania, what do you call it, the gypsies. They'll rob you blind and stuff like that, and seances and everything, and fix things a certain way and make you believe that they're talking to a dead relative or someone that's dead and you can't live without. That's been happening all through the ages, so
Something I've been hearing more and more is that we have to get past the question of whether ETs or NHI exist and are among us, and just accept the fact that they are and start asking questions about that. I have a feeling that you agree with that sentiment.
Absolutely, yeah. And as I said, it's not just, it's very hard, it's very hard to term what they are. We're calling them non-human intelligence at the moment, and they're some of them are non-physical, but there's a huge, I cannot describe how the wealth of life forms that are there in this kind of consciousness that we can all tap into, that want to interact with us.
Some life forms are energy that I've seen. Some of them are energy. They're not flesh or anything. Some are spirits, some are energy and stuff like that.
It's all different kinds of physical looking beings, non-physical, very spiritual. I've met ones that almost feel like they're demons, but also ones that actually feel like, they are biblical angels. So, there's so much stuff. And even, the fairy tale stuff, you're talking about fairies, trolls, goblins, or sprites, all that kind of stuff. All that kind of stuff kind of exists in this consciousness that is interacting with us on Earth. And, we have very limited bandwidths of vision and hearing against what's going on in the real world around us. So maybe that kind of stuff is literally around us, but we as general humans just can't see or hear it on a normal basis.
Yeah.
How many types are you actually aware of or have had interactions with? Because we hear typically about, greys. Those are probably the most popular that are spoken about. Tall whites, I think, are another type, and there's various other sorts that you hear discussions about, even reptilians. Which ones are you personally aware of? How many do you think are out there?
How many? I would literally say 100. It's like, and I think it goes to that old adage you say, which is very, very prevalent within esoteric terms, where they say, "As above, so below." Mm-hmm. If you kind of reverse it and look at it as below, it's the same above. On Earth, we are so divergent in how many life forms we have. From worms and insects to mammals, everything in the sea. It's a huge amounts of different kinds of animals thing. So if you reverse that, it's the same above and around us interacting with us as well. So I would say it could even be equal in numbers. So what you have down on Earth as humans, as animals and insects, all different types of vertebrae and non-vertebrae, you would have the same above us, but on a non-physical level as well. It really is that big. It's like a big zoo of life.
That would make sense. Yeah, talking about all of the diversity of life forms that we have on Earth, why would it be any different elsewhere?
Because you've got to remember as well, and this is we know this through remote viewing, is when we as remote viewers, we sit down and say, okay, we're doing the target, we tap into this consciousness, and I think because we don't as remote viewers, if I'm doing
these other planets have animal life and and everything else, lizards, stuff like that. It's just different. I see that too as well, definitely. So
the planet Mars, I don't go to the planet Mars. I'm just tapping into myself and getting the information about Mars. The information about everything in the universe is distributed everywhere in the universe. So all these life forms, they are all around us. They're interacting with us, And for us, as any kind of human, to interact with that, we just have to calm our mind and literally just think about it with intent and a way to understand the subtle, because the information as it comes through you is very, very subtle. You have to understand what these subtle words and feelings and visions are, and then get them down on paper. But yeah, it's that complex. It's all around us. It's there all the time, and every single one of us has access to that. It's like a big, what we have with the internet. It's like an internet, but on a scale of 1,000 times more, encompassing the entire universe and all information in time and space that we have access to.
I've heard consciousness described that way as like that's the internet, and it's as if each of us is a computer. So like the Wi-Fi signal is everywhere, but you need to have the computer that's hooked up to the Wi-Fi. You need to have the password and the login in order to access that information, right?
Absolutely.
So
we can all do it, as I said. We can all be intuitives. We can all be remote viewers. But again, to different levels. Not everyone. If you play the piano, not everyone. Some of us can play chopsticks, and some of us can play back. And we might be able to get there with practice in years. But that's a kind of different element to it. But we all have capability to access this information and experience it. It's just that as a remote viewer, I've literally just spent, I've spent 42 years of my life, but as a remote viewer, I've spent the last 29 really listening to, when I'm doing a target, I essentially spent 29 years really learning how to interpret information as it comes through me as an individual. That's the key to it. I've spent 29 years really understanding the very, very subtle feelings, and then being able to interpret them into 10 or 20 pages of words or pictures for the client.
How do you respond to people who ridicule this as something that's impossible, that's just ridiculous?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't get a lot of that in my life right now because, I have so many. I literally have thousands of my examples on the internet in video form and in paper form that people can see. And because I'm part of Future Forecasting Group, we've been going 9 years on a monthly rolling basis. I'm putting out more and more every month. Like for example, just before this month started, when I was looking, I was in January looking at what the top 5 news stories for February would be. One of my top news stories that I published and put out on X and other places for our subscribers was that there was going to be a crash in the skies. It was going to be with 2 aerial man-made objects. One of them was going to be a plane, and one of them was going to be something else. And then 3 days after I put that out, we had the DC crash.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of stuff out there where people can see my, as I said, hundreds or thousands of projects where people can see my work. So I don't really get a lot of skeptics coming to me and arguing because they don't have a lot to argue with when I have so much material out there.
So predictions like this come true for you on a regular basis?
Yeah, pretty much every month. I think me and my guys, we predicted a month in advance that there was going to be an assassination attempt on Trump. A few days before that, a month before that, I think it was for December, I predicted that one of the top news stories were going to be dogfights of planes and unmanned aerial vehicles over America. Of course, we had the New Jersey drones that were going on. I also predicted a month in advance that someone was going to be assassinated on the streets of America, and it was going to be a different assassination because it was going to be 2 men involved, one being shot in the head and the other person shooting him from behind, and he had a handgun like this pointed at the guy's head. And then we had a week or so after we put that out, we had the CEO getting shot in New York in that exact same way. And it's not like a skeptic can say, oh yeah, but that's a common occurrence. But when I'm writing there was going to be an assassination in a major city and I draw how it's going to happen, you don't get someone being assassinated by being shot in the head and it being a top global news story like that on a regular basis. So I get on a monthly basis, we get these predictions all the time as a group and as an individual.
I just want to go back to the UAP topic a little bit. I think one of the common assumptions when talking about UAPs, because it's been getting a lot of press recently, is that they are of extraterrestrial origin, or like coming from basically other planets.
UFOs,
But then there's the question of maybe they're extra dimensional, like they could be occupying the same space
All
as
the
us, but maybe
above.
just on a different frequency. Where do you stand on that? What are your ideas on where these things come from?
That's another good question, and it's not simple really. I've been tasked as a remote viewer to look at various different things that's going on, like the Tic Tac one, UAP, drone type stuff, Phoenix lights, Roswell, all kinds of projects. One or two that I've tracked back do look like they are off planet. But when I've tracked them, because I've essentially tracked them back as they move through the local universe, they seem to have facilities, or what I would call forward operating bases on some of the local planets, like the Moon and Mars and stuff. So they have facilities there, and then I tracked them back through a couple other waypoints way back far into the universe. So some definitely absolutely were off planet, but other ones I've looked at times as well have been more I would say multi-dimensional or interdimensional. But even the off-planet ones had the capability to move between dimensions as well. So this is where it gets all a little bit kind of fuzzy, really. But yeah, the majority of the ones I've looked at, I would say, are not off-planet, or not off-planet at the time I'm looking at them. When I'm looking at them, because I'm usually given a set day or a set time to look at an event. At the time I'm looking at them during the event, the craft can be physical and non-physical at the same time, and it can be in more than one place at the same time, which is very complex when you're trying to describe it as a remote viewer. So yeah, I'm sorry, it's not a simple answer. I would say it's both, and it's probably even more than that. There's probably even a couple of other things going on that we don't quite know. Maybe even, is it trans future? I can't remember what the word is they call for it, but maybe there's a future coming back to visit us thing. I haven't encountered that myself, to be honest. Everything that I've looked at, which has been high tech, that I've been tasked against, is either been dimensional or off planet type technology. Nothing I've seen seems to be us from the future, but
Yeah, there probably is no simple answer for any of this.
As humans, we want there to be simple answers, so we always try to condense things down into being black and white, but it's not like that. There is the black and white, but there's like 50 shades of grey in between, and that's what's going on here. There's everything you can possibly think of is happening.
It's interesting that you bring up Mars, because that's something that's kind of going viral right now, is this image from Mars of a square structure that people are discussing. Some are trying to debunk it, and others are saying this is definitive proof that there was life on Mars, that there were civilizations on Mars.
Yeah, the
What do you
face,
think about it?
Yeah, well,
that's
that's coincidentally a good question, because I'm literally just about next week, future forecasting group, to put out a 2-hour video where I've just tasked some remote viewers to go to Mars to a coordinate that was given to Joseph McMoneagle, remote viewer 001, the best in the Stargate unit at the time. He had a look at this location in 1984, and the documents are all out there, so people can get these anywhere on the internet. There's videos as well.
Stuff out there
and he described the huge pyramid structure and other things on Mars.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd use the very same coordinate and send a team of viewers I curated to go there and have a look to see if they can confirm or deny that. And they came, and that's coincidentally in the same week there's that square image come out on X and everywhere, and people are looking into it. I mean, yeah, if you've got the capability, I'm more than happy to share the screens to show you some of their RV if you want to have a look at it.
Pyramids,
Sure, if you're able to do that, go right ahead.
Okay, so remote view Mars. This is the coordinate.
Hold on, before I do, I need to get something. Leave a comment, leave a like, otherwise why watch? I mean, I do this for people to chat and everything. That's why I do it live. I also need to get this energy. Hold on. sick though. Yeah, there have been pyramids on Mars and stuff. There has.
And this is all they had was 22840201. But hidden on a sheet of paper that I had here on my computer, this is the target. So the planet Mars, current time, and the remote viewers to move to the optimum location and position in time and space to sketch and describe the target in full. The viewer will not report any theories, myths, social constructs, biases, or intents, but would only report actual data. If there are any made structures, the viewer will describe and sketch these in detail. If there are no made structures, then the remote viewer will describe only the landscape. And the location was these degrees here, and these coordinates were from the Joe McMahon Eagle 1984 Mars exploration. And then I put my intent in here as well, because I probably have a bias as well. So this is just to record my bias. And I've seen all the previous Stargate stuff. I've seen my personal remote view of Mars, and I've picked up some structures there. So I do have a bias that I probably expect them to pick up structures. Previous projects on this, Ingo Swann and his friends did Mars explorations. They did 3 of them from 1975 to 1984. And also the one we're talking about and the one we're going back on the coordinates of was Skip Atwater and Joe McMahon Eagle exploration of Mars, and they did that in 1984. Like both those previous projects, 4 in total, they all said they saw structures on the planet Mars. All viewers were blind to this target. They only had the random target number. This is some of their data of note. It's not all of it. Together, they came up with 400 pages of information on this. So these are just a quick few that I've compiled here for the production I'm putting together. So as you can see, lots of structural stuff here. This is from Coral. She did some circular. She kind of thought that this was a moving observatory. That over time it's broken down now and covered in dust and stuff. But when it was in use, it was an observatory type place that was moving.
There's dust storms. They do have huge dust storms. Is there a reason why they don't want humans there? Not ETs about saying it. There are ETs that don't want us there either. They don't want us there because of what happened there before. It was just like supposedly a big nuclear war, thermonuclear war and everything that totally destroyed the atmosphere and everything of Mars. And everything, they had to move stuff over here. They did, and everything, and then they helped make us as well. DNA was changed and everything. So they have all these huge storms on Mars and everything, dust storms that affects energy, that electromagnetism, stuff like that, and it can bury a lot of the objects, and sometimes it can unbury them as well with these huge dust storms that cover so much of the planet at a time.
Some descriptions here of the event that killed Mars, which is essentially an impact from above that caused a catastrophic event on the planet. All the life forms either left the planet or moved underground into what they detail here in these facilities. it's very hard to see here, but this cave entrance here going into a hill with circular stairs going down here to living quarters underground. So essentially, they went into these almost like bomb shelters underground to get away from a catastrophic event. The other data, as you can see here, is this is some topographical data that the remote viewers came back, all detailing what they seem to be structures on Mars, and you can see there's some similarity to all this with columned Egyptian-looking buildings, and very much the pyramidal structures, which is what Joseph McMoneagle and Ingo Swann and the others were reported, 40 years ago when they looked at Mars as well. And they detail life as well on Mars. Very tall life that isn't there anymore. Was destroyed in this catastrophic event. And as you can see, these are slightly different styles from slightly different remote viewers with different drawing styles. But it gives you an idea of some of the pages of information we can get. And that's only a few pages from, as I said, I've probably got 200-300 pages of data with, thousands of data points. And there's a lot of overlap. They all describe pyramid structures. They all describe structures that go underground. They all describe structures with columns that look very Egyptian. And there was a definite Egyptian hieroglyphic feel as well, with writing on walls, that kind of stuff. 2 or 3 of them described that there were like bomb shelters underneath ground that these life forms retreated into in the deep past. And there was a catastrophic event that destroyed the planet and stuff. So that gives you a generally a kind of overview of the kind of data that we.
There's a lot of different theories and everything. Hold on a second. Hold on. There are theories about what happened with Mars, including theories stuff happened on the moon. There have been structures that Buzz Aldrin and another astronaut talked about structures on the moon as well. And there are ETs right now going in and out of the moon and Mars, and there are bases and stuff like that on these planets. And you have ETs around Jupiter, stuff like that, around the moons of Jupiter, stuff like that. You have Venus, stuff like that. They're all over the place. I'm not talking about structures, but I'm talking about ETs, NHI, stuff like that. There's a lot of traffic going on in this solar system. And of course, a lot of stuff gets airbrushed out from NASA. So you're not going to see that. But there have been people that worked at NASA that says that this does happen. So airbrushing. So what you see on Mars from NASA is not the real picture.
Get as remote viewers.
Yeah, it's super interesting, and some of the pictures of the beings that were depicted do have kind of an Egyptian look to them, which would line up with the theory that the pyramids were constructed with ET help. So that's very interesting.
The data kind of indicates that.
Well, look, ETs use hieroglyphics. Some ETs, a lot of different NHI use hieroglyphic type of writing and stuff. But then you have the theory of what era are these things from as well. And some people get psychic visions of future from touching these objects, along with the cancer, unfortunately, and everything. Everything is connected. Everything is. What happened, on Mars, there's a lot of speculation stuff like that. What happened to the moon may or may not have happened to the moon is also speculation as well.
Some of them might have gotten away from the catastrophe and then ended up here on Earth in different areas of the planet and so on. Again, we can't corroborate any of this because we haven't got the capability to go to Mars. But you now have my group, and I've done other stuff in between, and I've connected other remote viewers group. But my group that's just done this.
That isn't true though. We have the capability to go to Mars. We could go there within a few seconds. But that's all classified stuff. And I'm dead sure that we've had super military groups go to the moon and Mars. I'm dead sure. I'm very sure. Or do some type of surveillance type of stuff. I say working with the ETs, liaisons type of stuff. But, I mean, that'd all be classified, of course, so he's right. Also, I think that's also what he means. I may be wrong about some of the stuff I said about this guy. Because when he's speaking about, here's that Ouija, that's evil stuff. They could get tapped with. Do not ever think about using that stuff. Yeah, I know people have. You probably did that back then and wouldn't now. But like I said, that's a red flag on anybody. And with anybody, there's going to be stuff that me, you, and anybody else is going to agree disagree with. But I say,
It's a big project. Joe McMoneagle that did the project in '84, and Ingo Swann that did 3 projects from '74 to '84. All with pretty well-known remote viewers, all with the same data. I will show some of the data in the main production that I do, but all the data corroborates, and it's all saying the exact same things that there are broken, decrepit, man-made structures on Mars, and with that latest photograph that you've got as well, with the square structure that's on X. That kind of that's replicated in some of the drawings I got from the.
I've heard of structures on Venus too, that something happened with Venus as well. To happen, but of course I could be way dead. I'm not saying that there is. I just heard. I'm not saying that something happened. I just putting that out there. And I say that I believe in something. I don't know. I'm just saying. That there's stuff that has happened to these planets. But, yeah, I know the moon is a satellite. I know.
Remote viewers that have just done this project as well.
Oh, amazing. Are there any remote views that you've done that really marked you or shocked you in some way?
Yeah, I did one, and it was for Courtney Brown for the Farsight Institute. And it was looking at the assassination of JFK. Of course, I was blind to the target, so I didn't know what we were doing. People can see this online because the whole video's live on whiteboard. I did the video live on whiteboard, filming myself. And it's on YouTube, so they can find this and have a look at it. But during the process of, I knew that someone was being killed. I knew there were fast-moving small objects hitting a life form that was in a moving vehicle or car, and I decided to go off the reservation in doing it, and because Courtney was only interested in the actual shooting event itself and how that happened, but I decided to follow the life form that was being killed to see what happened, and I essentially then spent 20 minutes on camera following a life form through a death process, through going into another realm of being and meeting other beings on the other side.
Oh my god.
And all that's available on video. It's on YouTube. I think it's called The Day JFK Died, remote viewing the day JFK died or something. It's free for people to watch. To be honest, that ended up on the cutting room floor. Courtney didn't want to use that 20 minutes in his film because he was only interested in the shooters and the description of the shooting event itself. So myself and a colleague, Dick Arguire, who runs Future Forecasting Group, we retrieved that kind of data and we made it into our own remote viewing video and put on YouTube, because it kind of details what it might be like to transfer light, at a point of death into another state of being. And I find that very influential into my life, because I didn't know what I believed until I did that, and I still really don't know what I believe, but it gives me a little bit more comfort that maybe there is definitely some kind of process that goes on there.
So you essentially followed JFK's soul through the death process onto the other side. That is incredible.
And you can see it all on camera. And there's so much noise, so much commotion, and all his thoughts were like, help, and oh my god, my kids, my wife, what's going to happen with this and the other. And then instantly, like a light switch, it was like nothing. And then, but nothingness was a shock to me being a viewer of it. But after I got used to it for a few seconds, the nothingness felt really kind of nice on its own. It was really kind of calming. And then I can't remember exactly what happened, but there was some swirling of energies and stuff. And then I could feel these life forms, but they didn't really have a strong physical human shape, but they were kind of coalescing in and forming out of the energy around this life form that passed over. And they went to comfort him and join him, but they had very loose human forms, but weirdly, even though they had loose human forms, he seemed to know who each one was as an individual. Well,
that's what happens when you die. You go to heaven and stuff. You see the dead, that your family, your dead family, your cousins and stuff like that. Even family you didn't know you had, and loved ones, friends, stuff like that. You see them on the other side when you die. And if, like I said, if you don't know them, it'll come. There's a way. There's a familiar type of feeling that you get from them, as something like psychic telepathic, spirit, stuff like that. Where you'll learn who they are and stuff. It just comes to you when you're dead on the other side and you're in heaven, stuff like that. It comes to
So I detailed that whole process of what happened with that, and I found that quite affecting on my life. But I've had many messages of people who've watched the video said that they've also had a benefit from that as well.
Yeah, do you think that aligns with a lot of near-death experience stories that
yes,
that we've heard? Like, have you encountered stories like that yourself?
So I didn't see any tunnels of light or anything. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't experience that. And
that's because you're still in the human, not in the afterlife realm. You're not there. There's things you're not supposed to see. There's certain energies that's keeping you from seeing. You're not supposed to see all that. Yeah. They're keeping that from you for a reason. They're keeping that from you. For certain reasons, they're doing that. You're not supposed to see everything. You're not. And they're keeping that from you.
It was almost, the light switch effect was weird because it was so noisy, and the thoughts that were coming out of his head of everyone, my kids, you're not supposed
to be able to access that.
Government stuff, this, and what's happening, and oh my god, I've been shot. And then the instant gone. The shock of that, and then the calmness, and literally it was
it's pure joy, it's pure calm. When you're dead, you go to the other side. You have no pain, you have no suffering, you have pure joy, calmness. And whoever you had bad beef with from this mortal realm, on the other side, you rarely have that, or it's not as bad. No matter how bad it is, it's all forgiven. Because it doesn't matter on the other side. It's all there's joy, there's happiness. And you're not gonna really understand it unless you've been there.
Interesting for me with the shock that everything went so fast and there wasn't an action of, oh, but I got to go back to that. I was thinking about my kids. I need to go back and think about my kids. The whole light switch of it, that's gone.
But it takes over when you're in heaven on the other side. You're no longer scared. There to be. They tell you on the other side. They'll be taken care of. And so not to worry about it. You're over here now, we'll take care of you. And you're always going to worry. You can see from the other side of heaven, you can see, like, my parents, unfortunately, would be able to see me if they wanted to. There's stuff they ain't going to want to see. But they can watch you. They can watch you and see you from heaven and stuff, or the other realms. ETs can see us and stuff like that. You can see inside. As well. And you can always call him. He's not supposed to access. He isn't supposed to see all that stuff. So what he saw is what his remote viewing abilities. I try to put this in a way of people understanding. He's not supposed to access that. Yeah, he got a good amount of what he saw, and the thing is, they're not flesh. We're not flesh either. We're energies. It becomes blurry because that's his mind's eye, his remote viewing abilities were other energies, and this is another dimension. This is another thing. It's other waves, other energy waves, radio frequencies that messes up with the signals that he has here on Earth, and mortal energies and frequencies, stuff like that. He's trying to access a channel he's not supposed to. It's a premium channel that he doesn't have clearance for. A premium stuff. So
this is something new, kind of. Yeah, you would have thought that there would have been a, oh no, but hang on, I was thinking about that kind of, but yeah, I didn't feel any of that in the process. So that was the biggest shock thing for me, the light switch effect of how that would transpire so fast, I guess, so instantaneously.
What's your assessment of how pop culture has kind of presented psychic phenomena to the masses in the form of like movies and things like that? It's a very common thing to see, and everybody's familiar with it, and you hear and see all kinds of, X-Men, Charles Xavier, with like telekinetic powers, like it's everywhere. How do you think that's shaped people's interpretations of these things over the years?
Yeah, I think it's had both a positive and a negative effect, really, hasn't it? Everyone knows that, we kind of all know that psychic abilities exist because we have seen it in pop culture. But at the same time, it's, in the vast majority of cases, in everything you read and see in the movies and books and stuff, it ends up being a negative, and it's looked at as, and it's portrayed as negative as well. Like psychics, are crystal ball readers. It has that kind of negative connotation, which is why I think that the new word that's replacing it all is psionics, because that's kind of sanitized. It's a bit like when they changed UFOs to UAPs. Mm-hmm. It had a sanitizing kind of process. I think that's what's happened with the changing of psychics and remote viewers to psionics, to give it that new kind of identity and wipe the slate clean. They change it all the time. I think pop culture's had an effect of being good in that we all know at some level that there are people that can do this kind of stuff and it exists. But at the same time, it has tainted it in a negative brush that most of us out there don't want to be called psychics, because that's quite negative.
What's your assessment of the current state of the disclosure movement that's happening right now? It seems to have accelerated a great deal in recent times, particularly over the past couple of months. Where do you think it's going, and how do you think it's going so far?
I followed UFOs and ufology since 1989. I've been, read everything on it, and in fact, I was a UFO investigator in the UK here before I was a remote viewer. It's interesting.
Stalled.
I'm worried that there's a lot of narrative there that's being controlled and maybe disinformation as part of the mix, especially on places where I seem to hang out a lot, like X. Seems to be a lot of different narratives there. I'm also worried that all we're hearing from right now are whistleblowers and military people, or people that have worked for military and secret projects, and we all know that they sign NDAs, they're under legal obligations, maybe even pensions being paid for, all that kind of stuff. So I'm worried that it's a narrative that might be incorrect. Saying that, it needs to happen because, from my experiences within remote viewing and normal classical psychic work, I know that they're out there and all this kind of interaction's happening, absolutely. Although I do worry that, some of it is negative as well as some of it being positive. Where it's going to go, I don't know. I do think we're seeing more of it now because of where we are as humans. And I don't think it's any coincidence that at the moment where we see disclosure looking like it's going to be absolutely possible, is the exact same time where we're at a state where we're creating our own life forms through AI, and we're very close to having
That's the wrong
artificial
way.
general intelligence, and then moving to artificial super intelligence, within a year, maybe 2 years. So I don't
That's
think it's any
evil.
coincidence that we have life forms that look like they've already mastered those kinds of technologies and more, being more prevalent now when we're on the cusp of creating new non-physical life ourselves that have the capabilities to do vast things, with mental capabilities far superior than anyone on Earth. So
Then
I don't think
AI
that's a coincidence. I think they're here because of what we're doing with that right now and the dangers of that.
Yeah, the AI thing is not something that I really considered, but it does make sense when you consider that
evil.
there has been a lot of ET activity around nuclear installations and things like that, like our most dangerous weapons. They seem to.
There's good about AI, but let me tell you, AI keeps us in a box. There's the evil that I get with AI, how it boxes, it keeps us compartmentalized. It keeps us not smaller than a cave in a dark hole, in a dark tunnel, dark hole, and we are more than AI. We could blow AI to dust with what we're capable of. And stupid Trump and all these other people want AI to control us. That's just evil. And making an AI Stargate, which he's covering up the real Stargate, what we're capable of doing, and talking and communicating with non-human intelligence, spirits, and other stuff, and different dimensional beings and entities that we're capable of. AI can't do that, and they just want to control us, and that's what Trump is doing, and these other people, they're making tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. They want to control us. This includes Elon Musk, stupid Neuralink bullshit. We don't need a Neuralink. We have psychic abilities that, if we learn to use that, we don't, even the blind can see, the deaf can say stuff like that. But I mean, everyone's abilities are different too. Some are not as strong as others, and it's the way you have to train yourself too, as well. I mean, I see AI with video, GPU, CPU processes, that I don't have a problem with graphical stuff like that. But when it replaces human thought, human jobs, it needs to be totally killed off and destroyed with that part. So
To be surveyed by ET presence on a regular basis. So perhaps AI could be something dangerous to a similar level that needs to also be kind of controlled in some way, or at least moderated by them, and maybe that's why we're seeing this come out.
That's what a lot of us
Yeah,
would say.
it's I love AI stuff. I think it's amazing times that we're coming into, but I think the rate of expansion over the last 2 years and what we're seeing is so fast that I don't think people are stopping to ask why we're doing things instead of how we should be doing things. I think it's scary, the rate of expansion, and yeah. So it's just a personal feeling of mine is that that's moving so fast, and the fact that we could create super intelligent beings that are which may even be conscious and sentient. I think that may be a greater danger, or maybe not a greater danger to us. Maybe a danger to non-humans. I don't know, but it's to me, it's not a coincidence that we're on the cusp of creating new life that doesn't come from us and our physical bodies in a way that may impact the universe around us negatively or positively.
Because these AI bodies could make energy, high energy microwaves and EMP stuff and everything. Sounds crazy, but there's always a way to alter these robots and stuff and everything. But
at a huge scale, I don't think that's a coincidence why they're becoming even more visible as we're getting even more into AI super intelligence.
That's a fascinating thought to end things off with.
Anyways, that's with that. I want to go to the Italian UFO thing. Let us see here.
Means that this is a hoax. It was planned 50, 60 years ago, which doesn't make sense.
Were those authentic pictures?
Absolutely.
This is a criminal gas alien UFO contact in Italia. It's Italian. It's called in English. Italy, it's Italian. I'm doing a little Italian here, just a one word Italian. So,
Also, Antonio, just in front of him, to his window, and he's able to record right there these UFOs. You just saw 2 or 3.
Oh,
There-
wait,
They come to the house of Antonio, just in front of him, to his window, and he's able to record right there these UFOs. You just saw 2 or 3.
oh, remarkable.
There are 50,
From
60
Awakened,
videos
so-
like that.
Are they trying to tell us something?
Yes.
What do you think the message
They
is?
are using him to tell us something. They are using him for us to get used to their presence.
right there, I use this freedom of the press. I also, in these, get my own experiences with UFOs and other paranormal experiences. This is from Awakened Zones. They got this from Beyond Belief. Everybody's getting stuff from other places as well. Leave a comment, leave a like, leave a comment, leave a like with me. Tell me what you think. Started.
There are so many cases worldwide. We could go on for 18 Beyond Belief shows to talk about every case.
Yes.
But you have focused recently on
Yes.
cases in Italy.
Yes.
Amicizia.
Yes.
A case that is at least 40 years old. Tell us a little bit about that. Then we're going to look at a video on this.
It's something I learned very recently. I learned that in 2007, Stefano Breccia wrote a book in Italian. Very recently, it was translated into English. It is called Mass Contact. And this man was a scientist. He was director of the University of L'Aquila, the Eagle, in Italy. This is a very important university. At least 4 nobles worked there under his command. And we're talking about one of the most important scientists in artificial intelligence in the world. And he decided to write this book because he participated in this experiment that happened from 1956 to 1978. At least 150 people in Italy, and we are talking about journalists, we are talking about scientists, diplomats, very, very important
And
people,
just people.
religious people.
All kinds of people.
All kinds of people. And they were in contact with ETs, extraterrestrials, like human-like. These extraterrestrials, some of them live in Pescara and Milan in Italy, and most of them under the sea in a base in the Adriatic Sea. It sounds crazy.
It sounds
It
strange.
sounds science fiction.
We have
But
off underwater.
I found at least 4 witnesses, all of them more than 80 years old, and they decided to speak to me, and they provide me with photographs and films from the 50s. And we tested them. We asked some analysts to really try to decide if they
I use Gaia.com, and there is, like through Amazon, there's Gaia Network, stuff like that. There are different ways to find them. To find this UFO stuff, wow, that is impressive. Look very familiar, yeah. Look at that. Energy source, everything. This right here, energy source right here, look at that. But Gaia.com, yeah, they have a lot of stuff, about like Mother Earth, stuff like that. And sometimes they have paranormal stuff, Gaia.com and Gaia Network. So that also from Amazon has a way to get to this, but I'd go see these guys, see what they have.
they were real, and they told me that they were real, absolutely real. And then I started to really got interested in this case. And then I found that all these extraterrestrials were trying to help human beings, and they went to different countries like Russia, they went to Switzerland, they went to Austria, Argentina, Chile, not to the US, not to Mexico, they went to France. And they were in contact with some people in every country. The only case we have been able to investigate is the one from Italy. But we have enough evidence to consider that this case was real. And something very important, when these people left in 1978, in the 21st of June 1978, they destroyed their base under the sea. We had a tsunami, 90 feet waves tsunami in both coasts.
That's a good sized tsunami.
In Croatia and in Italy. And then we think that everything they said is real. Some of the ETs were living in Pescara.
Man, what do you mean by living there? Like
They were in contact
amongst
with people.
society?
Yes.
Then they look like us?
Yes, they drove cars. Some of them...
They drove cars?
Yes, they smoked cigarettes.
How'd they get
did
licensed?
things humans. No, because they were involved in the human
Country
society.
of origin. Neptune or whatever.
I don't know, but that's what the witnesses say. And, when you talk to these old people, you get the feeling that they are telling you the truth. And some
There's always going to be stuff that we're not going to believe and stuff that we can believe with these things. Let's go forward.
I was going to ask you that, Jaime. When you look at somebody and you look at them in the eyes, can you tell if they're pulling your leg or telling the truth?
It was very difficult for them to talk. I mean, it was they didn't want to, but Bruno Samachicha, the man who was the leader of this group, died in 2003, and he asked them now to open the case. And the first one was Stefano Breccia in 2007. And that's when the world learned about this case. It's very important that American investigators, field investigators, got interested in this case, go to Italy, and try to convince themselves how important this case was.
Amicizia means friendship in Italian. Let's look.
For some time now, Jaime Maussan has been traveling to Italy to find and interview the participants of what could be the largest mass contact program in the history of humanity. It was known as amicizia, which means friendship in Italian. For decades, starting in the 50s, politicians, university professors, and citizens of Italy were contacted by beings from a different world. The ETs were on Earth on a mission to help humanity evolve to their next spiritual level. The many witnesses and participants of the program filmed flying craft, flew with ETs, and even learned their language. Jaime has been following the case for many years. According to the witness testimonies, other alien factions that idolize science attempted in numerous occasions to bring the project down. The conflict led to a plethora of paranormal phenomena in the Adriatic Sea and over the Italian skies.
Jaime, these black and white photographs that we just saw in video, I mean, what were they?
Well, this is a craft that made a demonstration to them. There are many more pictures. This is just a very
a highlight of something.
Yes, and there are many more films, all of them from the 60s. It means that this is a hoax. It was planned 50, 60 years ago, which doesn't make sense.
Were those authentic pictures?
Absolutely. Absolutely, and they are, and we have the negatives, and the negatives are from that time.
Yeah.
And besides that, they were tested, and we know that they were not overimpositions. There is no trick, that the objects were large, and there were many different details that the analysts found to declare this evidence real. We have all of these. I have to tell you that in Gaia.com, you can find in the Spanish side these evidences, this full investigation, because there is so much to this. And I think it's important because it seems that many years ago there was a clear intent from them to really get in touch with us. But the experiment failed because of humans. We fail as we usually do because of interest, because of money, because of how we are, unfortunately, and they left. But they say they could come back, and we think they did. And I'm going to speak you that in the next part of the show.
Jaime, with these visitations, let's say specifically in Italy, what do you think the ETs are looking for? Are they trying to help us, or is there a different agenda?
At least the human-like, they try to help us. That's what they say. They said that love for them was very important. Love was like energy. I don't understand how, but that's what every one of the interviewers told me. They said love was the energy that they need to really to survive and work.
And you can believe them?
I believe them. At the beginning, as I said, it was very difficult to really believe.
I understand.
There were people living there.
Yeah.
Taking cars.
The thing is, we give off energy. Our souls are also made up of energy, electromagnetic energy. Love is an energy. Hate is an energy. Anger is an energy. So it does make sense with that. And energy, ki and chi, and how we transfer real energy from our hands onto another person, there's real energy from us and everything like that. So I understand that.
Doing things like humans, living like humans.
Interacting, everything.
Yeah,
Breathing
yeah.
our air.
They like to drink.
They like to drink?
They like to drink.
What's
They
their
like to
favorite little beverage?
They like to smoke. They told me that. I don't know why, but it seems that was also real and part of the experiment for some reason.
How long do they live?
They live for hundreds of years.
They do, even smoking.
Even
Somebody's got to tell them to stop smoking, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know if that was part of the experiment, but that's what they did. One of the people involved, Emilio, was able to decode their messages, their language, and he was. We were able to understand so much more from them through their, translations from this language.
Did they say what star cluster or planetary system they were coming from?
Aliens, driving
no, but they
aliens, we
said
got
that
it
was
all
a
here,
planet
folks.
very similar to Earth, and they said that originally that planet was destroyed,
Marijuana,
and then they went to different
aliens.
planets,
Oh my God,
and now they found the Earth, and for some reason probably they wanted to live here or something, because they tried to adapt to how we were, but at the end they couldn't stand us, and they leave.
How long
That part
or
I
how
could
many
believe.
of them do you think came here at one time?
I
Hundreds
wouldn't
of
want to be human myself.
Hundreds of them.
Hundreds
With
of them.
the number of
Most
craft,
of them,
too?
even kids, living under the sea, living in a base. This base was so high; it was like a mile, the floor to the roof, and it rained inside. And then
Was the base a craft that basically sat on the bottom of the ocean?
They explain how they do it. There is a full explanation, scientific explanation. How can they really make these holes without taking the dirt out? They compress it, they open it, and then somehow they
There's
are
like a
able
bubble
to build.
around it, or a
exactly,
dome?
exactly. It's like if you make a balloon inside and you push it,
Right.
And that's how they did it. And there is a full explanation of the craft, the materials, the energy they use. There is so much. I couldn't explain all of that because I'm not a scientist and because it's a very long explanation. But the people who wants to read about this book, Mass Contact, they can find it in the internet, and they can read about this. And I think it's worth it because it was a real experiment. And I believe
I'd actually go
seeing
look
the
into
evidence
it,
that
because
this really happened.
on some stuff I don't believe, but with all these stories, there's always stuff that you can't believe, and there's gonna be stuff that you can believe. You know, I mean, this is definitely one of them.
You think it's ongoing, Jaime?
I think it's ongoing because I'm going to present you the next case in your show that I think is related to this. Now there is one person recording these UFOs very close, and they are real, and it's happening in Italy too, in Milan.
What is so special about Italy and these cases?
Well,
As
I don't know.
opposed to Mexico,
Italy is very special.
Switzerland,
Italy is
Russia,
very special.
it seems
A lot
like
of
Italy
countries
has a lot
are
lately.
special.
Yes, well, they, for some reason, they like the people, they like the place. I cannot tell you
Maybe
why.
they're into pasta.
It's a
Who knows,
Roman,
right?
the Roman Empire.
Maybe, but this is. It seems that Italy has become very important for them, and right now, I think the most important case in the world is happening right there. I'm
All
not
these
saying
countries have
most cases are
special
happening
for-
now in Russia.
Well,
Russia is very
1,000 years,
important.
10,000.
But the most documented case with the best evidence right now is happening in Italy, where Antonio Ursi lives.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit about
Ursi.
Antonio.
Antonio Ursi is a designer. He designs clothes for Lady Gaga, Rihanna,
A designer?
Jones,
Okay.
Aguilera, Christina Aguilera, many very famous artists. He works for Versace, he works for Armani, he works for Chanel. Some of the most important designers in Italy, he works for them.
All right.
He doesn't have the big name as designer
That's why
yet,
he's smoking.
and he doesn't get the big bucks from the business. But he's probably one of the most important artists. Lady Gaga loves him, and he has done his all his clothes for the tours. for the Super Bowl. And then he's a very, very important man.
Well, now, how did this guy, a designer, get involved in the study of UFOs?
Yes.
Well, since he was a kid. He was a very young kid, 5, 6 years old, and he started to tell his mother and his father about these UFOs following him. And he started to look to the sky every day. And sometimes he told his father and mother, they are there, and sometimes they saw it. I interviewed them. I interviewed his brother, I interviewed his father, his mother, and they told me, yeah, we didn't believe him until we saw them.
It's actually insane. I don't think it's ever going to stop until there's like a legal repercussion for it.
Adam22, the podcaster, just pump and dumped his fans after being
Wow.
warned by me that this would happen. Our story starts in 2021. Best channel of all time, dude. I just finally started watching, and I've been hooked. If you ever want to make it to LA, let's do a podcast.
What a nice guy.
I said, hey, I'm in Texas.
He's in Texas? I didn't even know that. Oh, shit.
If I'm in LA, I'll stop by.
Yeah.
It's nice to see people rally around how scummy these influencer crypto deals are. When I started the series, I wasn't sure if anyone would care. It's like, influencer does something shady. Every 60 seconds, a minute passes.
Good one.
Here's what's interesting. Adam22 said, yeah, made me so glad I never took any deals. People were trying to send me to promote random coins. Although once I watched your video and saw them making 200K for it, and kind of regretted it. Ha ha.
Man, that's fucking funny. Wow.
That, ladies and gentlemen, that ha-ha is foreshadowing.
Yes, it sure is.
People admit stuff in their jokes. You know, sometimes people joke, like, wouldn't it be crazy if I scammed everybody?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, are you joking?
No.
Well,
I guess
today
not.
we found out that no, he's not. Because today
Here we
he
go.
tweeted this and then subsequently deleted it. What's up? I'm joining the crypto world. I'm about to launch on the biggest meme coin on Solana.
The biggest
Make sure
one.
you're ready today.
It's Adam22, and I am coming to the crypto world, dropping my first ever meme coin. So make sure you stay tapped in. It's dropping on Solana ASAP.
This, ladies and gentlemen,
Wow.
is what we call a tourist in crypto. That's somebody who comes by right at the top, also known as a top signal. They come right at the top to try to extract a little bit of juice out of the system, try to scam a few people.
They're trying to make money.
And then they leave and you'll never hear of them again.
Right,
so
of course.
Adam22 jumps in.
Obviously.
And he says, I'm about to launch a coin. And, I thought to myself, I have been in DMs with this guy.
Yeah.
I forgot that he knew that influencer scams were bad. I forgot about this early.
Well, he didn't forget. That's the one person who you can guarantee did not forget about these scams. He remembered.
Messages, right?
Yeah.
But I thought, I should warn him. Not only that, I had it on good authority.
I gotta tell you, YouTube, piss off, bitches. Fuck you. I don't care. Fuck you. I'm not getting paid. I need to continue to do this. I'll do this on other sites. Fuck you, YouTube. You cunts. Fuck you. They're doing this. I'm putting out news. Piss off. I said this over and over again. I told you in these fucking articles, I didn't do what I want. And I'm sick and fucking tired of you assholes doing this. I'm not making anybody off this. Nothing. Gaia, whoever, go gag on yourselves. Seriously. I didn't do this. Okay? This is for your other press shit, tube. Stop your bullshit. I know you're watching me, YouTube. I know you do. I know you do. I know you bitches watch me. This is a message to you. Fuck off. Piss off. I'm here to report this stuff and get stuff out. It's called freedom of the press. That's what it is. And you guys do not deserve any protections from the government when you do this bullshit. You don't deserve shit. You don't deserve Section 230 protections. Because you guys are jerking each other off, you and Gaia and these other places. There's no copyright infringement by doing this. So fuck you, YouTube. You piece of shit company. I have no respect for you guys. Who do this? I'll put it somewhere else. I'll gladly do that. And there's nothing Gaia can do but suck on my cock. And that's what we're going to do. Same with you guys. You hear me, Gaia? Same to you guys. You can go gag on it too. YouTube, you can do the same. This is Adam 22, OnlyFans stuff. Fucking Christ, rats. YouTube rats. And I know you guys watch me. It doesn't say how many viewers. But I know you guys watch me. I know you bitches do all the time. So there's a lot of you viewing this. Fuck you. I don't know, some of that sound funny anyway on there. But, I know there's some truth to it, and yeah, I'm gonna report it anyway, YouTube. Go fuck yourselves. And go fuck each other. Yeah, I'm 22. Let me tell you, he's married to Lena the Plug. And there's something I know about relationships with adult entertainers, stuff like that. And of course, I've had my own fan site and everything else. So we're going to do this instead.
For it.
Adam 22, the podcaster, just pump and dumped his fans.
Oh.
After being...
The thing is, one reason why I'm pissed off at ShitTube is because they take away views. They do not help me whatsoever. So there's a reason why I'm pissed off at YouTube. We don't have a good relationship. It's very bad. Very bad. So when they do stuff to me, I lash out. And they take away views, and they don't, let me get seen and stuff like that. I just trash them.
Warned by me that this would happen. Our story starts in 2021. Best channel of all time, dude. I just finally started watching, and I've been hooked. If you ever want to make it to LA, let's do a podcast.
What a nice guy.
For those that don't know, Lena the Plug is one of the top adult performers. Adam 22 also, and he has his own podcast. He has adult performers, stuff like that. He's on other podcasts with adult performers. And so it's like he's with other, he has sex with other adult performers. She does too. That's pretty much having a relationship with adult performers like sometimes. I know this. I know this myself. I know this personally myself. So
I said, hey, I'm in Texas.
He's in Texas? I didn't even know that. Oh shit.
If I'm in LA, I'll stop by.
Yeah.
It's nice to...
Hello, this is Tyler Hardcore. Leave a like, leave a comment. Tell me what you think.
see people rally around how scummy these influencer crypto deals are. When I started the series, I wasn't sure if anyone would care. It's like, influencer does something shady. Every 60 seconds, a minute passes.
Good one.
Here's what's interesting. Adam 22 said, yeah, made me so glad I never took any deals. People were trying to send me to promote random coins. Although once I watched your video and saw them making 200K for it, and kind of regretted it. Ha ha.
Man, that's fucking funny.
I don't think I know some adult performers, some adult stars. All right, this is not lost on me. Where at 22, I know he's not. He's done video stuff. He has. All right, but stuff gets lost on their heads, and sometimes you wonder. Sometimes what drugs some are doing, or they don't know better. So when it comes to money too, some have ADD. And when there's money involved, they don't think about anything as they should. Some do know better, some don't. Some don't have much up here. Some just think about the money. And they don't know better. Okay, this is from my experience knowing some. Okay? Some do, some don't. I just putting out the reality of this stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
That, ladies and gentlemen, that
Wow.
ha-ha is foreshadowing.
Something wrong
Yes,
with
it sure is.
People admit stuff in their jokes. You know, sometimes people joke, like, wouldn't it be crazy if I scammed everybody?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, are you joking?
No.
Well,
I guess
today
not.
we found out that no, he's not. Because today
Here we
he
go.
tweeted this and then subsequently deleted it. What's up? I'm joining the crypto world. I'm about to launch on the biggest meme coin on Solana.
The biggest
Make sure
one.
you're ready today.
It's Adam 22, and I am coming to the crypto world,
coming.
dropping my first ever meme coin. So make sure you stay tapped in. It's dropping on Solana ASAP.
This, ladies and gentlemen,
Wow.
is what we call
That's great.
a tourist
That's great.
in crypto. That's somebody who comes by right at the top, also known as a top signal. They come right at the top to try to extract a little bit of juice out of the system, try to scam a few people.
They're trying to make money.
And then they leave and you'll never hear of them again.
That's
So
what they
Adam
do.
Jumps in.
That's what they
He says,
do. It's
you know,
all
about
about the money.
And, you know, I thought to myself, I have been in DMs with this guy.
Yeah.
I forgot that he knew that influencer scams were bad. I forgot about this early.
Well, he didn't forget. That's the one person who you can guarantee did not forget about these scams. He remembered.
Messages, right?
Yeah.
But I thought, you know, I should warn him. Not only that, I had it on good authority that his token was going to be sniped by a sniper group.
Yeah, of
so I was
course.
like, oh, this is going to be a disaster for his fans. You know, I really should reach out. So, in good
Reach out.
faith, I reached out. I
Real
said,
talk,
hey,
you shouldn't run a coin.
Run a coin. It's lame, and you're gonna scam or get scammed. This is what you see a lot. Influencers also will get scammed.
Mm-hmm.
They'll think they're doing a fun thing. And then
I also disagree with that. I think that a lot of them use the ignorance excuse as a way to save emotional face and to not look like scammers. That's what I think.
Yes.
Adam 22
yes.
says, how
I
else?
mean, I gotta be honest. He's right. Okay. They do that to save face. They do. They do. Yeah. They act ignorant. They act stupid. They do. I know of some. I know of some personally. Some porn stars. I have. So I mean, I know stuff.
Am I going to
shoot.
afford all this galaxy gas?
I feel
I
like
don't-
that's the end of it, right? I mean, like, this dude's addicted to galaxy gas. He's selling fake crypto coins. Like, I mean, what even is this? I feel like, yeah, like, we've... All right, well, there it is. Fucking what? Yeah, he's trying to buy galaxy gas. It's expensive. And so how's he going to do it?
Scam.
know, is that a joke? I guess that's a joke.
He is
Haha.
It's probably not entirely a joke.
I have to rob the bank for my Galaxy Gas. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
So I
Rob
tweet
the
him,
bank. That sounds
or I show
great.
him that this insider group, this is a sniper group,
Yeah.
where they're talking about this coin, and they say, I think we made it already, all eyes on us. They're planning to snipe this coin
Yeah,
ahead
of course.
time. I say, hey, these guys want to snipe your coin.
Baby,
He says-
snipe it.
He said, I don't care. I just got paid to do the tweet. I have nothing to do with it.
Why the hell is he admitting this to him? Why is this the real Adam 22? Is what I'd be asking, because I don't see anyone dumb enough. I don't know. How can anyone be dumb enough to admit this to someone? What the fuck? Look at his fucking face. Look at his fucking face. Like, God, man. Holy shit. Holy shit. Oh my god, dude. Oh, man. How can you be dumb enough? How can you be dumb enough? Because you know, he's a reporter. He's gonna put. You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to put this stuff out. Private messages, you're not supposed to. But he should know better that they could do that. That people do this. How can you be dumb enough not to, man? It's like, to do that, it's like, I don't know, man. Is that the real M22? I don't know, man. Holy shit.
This is the most shameless one since Ice. He doesn't even. He's like, bro, like, I don't fucking like. I mean, you know what's so bad about this? This like makes me probably a bad person, but like, I almost find it
You're a
endearing
terrible person.
that he's just so willing to just totally roach out and just be completely open about it. Like, yeah, bro, I don't know what the fuck this is. They were giving me a bunch of money, so I just did it. Like, that's it. Yeah,
But
it's like
people
you
do
gotta
do
be
that.
impressed. Like, at a certain point, you've got to be. Yeah, it's like you have no shame.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, really, Adam 22? I said, I'm gonna launch my meme coin. I'm gonna launch the biggest meme coin on Solana.
Naturally.
You don't know what the? You have nothing to do with the tweet?
Yeah. No. He doesn't even know what it is.
Would you slap
He
your
hasn't even seen
name
it.
on like dog poop and go, oh, I
Yes,
know, I just,
yes,
I
they
just got
would.
paid- I
They
got
would
paid to do
slap it
I don't
on
care.
dog. Yes, they would. You get
so
money,
what
baby.
a
They'll do
silly
that shit.
hypothetical.
They will.
How much money? How much money is being offered
Yes,
in
see?
this circumstance?
They said too.
Because if they paid him $1 million, I think he'd sell dog shit for sure.
Yeah.
Don't any of these
it
people
won't take a
care about their
million. It won't take a
reputation?
million.
I mean, Adam
No.
22, I thought deeply cared what people thought of him. I thought he would never humiliate himself like this. I haven't been on the internet in the past,
Why-
couple of years.
Yeah, yeah,
But I
why
was
did you
shocked.
think
And I
that?
thought,
Why did
this
you
is-
think
This
that?
is a new low for Adam 22 to be.
Is it really though?
Really? There are other people that I know that don't like Adam 22 for other reasons, and it's not my business. I ain't gonna say anything or whatever. I'm not, because I don't know him. I don't know him. He has his stuff that he does. I have my stuff that I do, and everything. I think he's actually lucky that he has all these girls in porn, he can have sex with. I mean, that's awesome to me. That's awesome to me. And stuff. But it's also awesome that his lady is with him with that too, as well. With some stuff that he gets himself into. But, I mean, it's like, when, I mean, the thing is, I have some adult stars, it's like, they want more than one person at a time with me. They want like they want 2, 3, or 4 other women with them and stuff like that. And I don't look my best right now, and I need to get myself in better shape, but it's like, you know, it's like thing is like, I don't know them. I don't know them either. It's like, the thing is, I'll fuck you. I'll have sex with you. These other ladies I don't even know. I mean, they look hot. They look hot and everything, but it's like, I want that connection. I don't want to just, you know, fuck them. I don't. I want to have, you know, a connection and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And they've seen certain part of my body that they like and everything, but, you know, I need to get rid of flab here. You know what I'm saying? And stuff. So it's like, what do you get? More muscle.
I mean,
what?
I don't think it is. I mean, this is. I feel like this is a horizontal move.
Keep pump and dumping like this.
We're seeing lateral
And I
movement
say, that's
here.
even worse. You're scamming the fans. Like, you're knowingly doing it. It's almost better if he believed in this. He's like saying, like, oh, dude, I mean,
I know it's a
I
scam.
don't care. I'm not even involved. It's like, but you're putting your name on it.
That's why they're paying him.
That's why people are paying you, right? Is to put your name
course.
on it. And so your fans will buy in.
Right.
And this is, you know, this is the classic influencer code, right? Once I realized that he watched my channel and he knew all this stuff already,
Naturally.
I viewed this differently. But at the time, I didn't know that, okay? He says, I'm going to venture a guess that approximately 0% of my fans know how to do anything with crypto.
So they're stupid, so it's easy to take their money. I like that. It's a good idea. All right. Smart.
Newsflash, Adam22. The reason you're getting paid is because they know, like, some percentage will buy this coin.
Oh, yeah, of
right?
course.
If they wouldn't, you wouldn't get the deal.
He's looking at it from that perspective. Yeah. Okay.
Why do you think people are paying you money? It's like any brand deal. Do you think
this was one of the copes from, like, gambling, is that, you know, it's like people are, like, saying, oh, well, I'm taking this gambling deal. Like, I don't know why someone can't say, like, I want someone... Like, you know, back in the day, you used to have human sacrifices, right? It's like, it's been hot for a while. We need a rainy day. We're going to cut somebody's heart out and then roll the corpse down the stairs, right? And it's like, why can't we just embrace that rather than trying to act like we're better than this? If you want to sacrifice people in the name of money, go ahead and do it, right? That's fine. But, like, I just don't like the sanctimoniousness of it. I don't like the intellectual dishonesty of it. So it's not getting people to kill themselves or ruining their life that's the problem to me. It's the fact that people are dishonest about it. It's just annoying to me.
Paying you because they don't think your audience would buy the thing? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But, you know, I just wanted to give him that. I was like, look, let me just spot you the whole... You know, I'm not really scamming my fans because my fans don't know anything about crypto. Cope that people use all the time. I say, I don't believe that, but setting that aside, you do know it's just a grift, right? There's nothing being made here. People are literally plotting to snipe your coin. That group that I showed you guys, of
course they are.
The profile pic is like a sniper, okay? They're going to snipe his coin and rinse his fans.
Of course.
Make a bundle off somebody who doesn't know any better. My point is, like, either way, somebody's getting scammed. You should care about that, right? You should care about someone getting scammed at least. I say, how much do they offer you and who is it? This is maybe the worst part. He says, no idea. I just did.
It doesn't even know, bro. He doesn't even know. He just said, bro.
I can actually believe that if he does it, he just takes the money. Because a lot of these people are ignorant. They don't have up here. I can actually believe that because of some adult stars that I know. Do you have ADD? Some do. I actually would be surprised, but I believe he also does know better as well. I believe he just doesn't want to know. I believe it's more like he doesn't want to know. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know. I should judge, but I don't know. I don't know. Nobody said anything, so.
I just did it because the money bag, yo.
That's why I have
the
this
baby
on
and
so far.
Kodak are doing it. I don't know who's behind it.
Yeah.
Those are, you talk about Kodak Black? The rappers? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wait, Moneybag is a rapper too? Oh, I thought he meant Moneybag as in like, I
Yeah,
did it
was
because
thought
of
too,
the money.
until, yeah, clarify
My
that.
bad.
Did it because Moneybag Yo, Da Baby, and Kodak are all
Now
doing
that
it.
makes sense.
Or did it? I don't know
No.
who's behind it. Again, classic.
You're so Caucasian. I know. I don't know a
You're so
rapper.
Caucasian.
That's because I'm white, by the way.
So,
I mostly
Yeah.
white,
my
so
friends are
Never
doing
heard
it.
this,
I
yeah.
had to do it. My friends, you
I
know.
didn't want that.
It's so dumb.
Yeah.
My friends did cocaine. I had to do it. What? Little Finn. What's the
It
problem?
is what
Let me tell you, some adult stars I know of, sometimes they're on certain things, and I worry about them, that they should be doing things that they do, and they say crazy shit to me, some adult stars, and then they say, "Oh, did I say that?" It's like, "Oh, I don't remember this." Like, yeah, you said that, and then it's like, they say, "Well, today's a new day. Let's move on. Let's forget that happened." But there have been times I've been sick talking to them. I thought things as well, so I'm not totally innocent myself, so I have to judge myself. But I worry about some of them, or some of the shit that they do. And this is where sometimes they're like, "Hey, daddy." They call me daddy. It's like, okay, I'm not your daddy, but I see why you're saying that, kind of, because I'm like a nurse. You know, it's like, you know, I've done nursing stuff, and I worry about their well-being. They're up 24/7 just about, and I get scared. Yeah, I am like their daddy, I guess. Anyways, but
it is.
My friends did it. I didn't think about
Yeah.
it. The guy doesn't even know who's behind it. I don't know if that's true, by the way. But to pump something,
I can
when you don't
believe he
even
doesn't know.
what's
He's just
behind
he
it.
just get out money.
It's unbelievable. And again, I know some of you guys are going to say, "Hey,
This from my personal
if you brought
experience with something.
from Adam22." By the way, we haven't even
You
gotten
deserve to lose your money because you're a retard, and it's natural selection, which is completely accurate and 100% true.
into the name of this coin,
Is it Dick
which
coin?
I'm not going to say because this is a family channel.
It's a cuck coin. Is it? It's actually called the cuck coin. How is this possible? How do you put your real
If
money?
that don't tell you what will. Oh shit! Who is that? Is that Leah? Is that no? They ain't. No, that's somebody else. Yeah, that's somebody else. Yeah, I better know what I'm talking about. Oh shit! The cuck. Doesn't that say it all, brothers and sisters? Doesn't that say it all about what you should and should not buy into? And if something's called cuck, you might want to stay away from the shit. You know what I'm saying? This is where my street smarts come in. And there ain't a lot sometimes in here. There ain't, but this
Money into cuck coin and think to yourself,
cuck coin.
this is the next thing. This
I'll
is the
put 10
next step
cent
in my
into
life.
that.
But the coin also, yeah,
Fuck,
pump
so-
and dump. There you go.
Oh, wait, what? That's crazy.
Uh-huh.
So when, wow,
Yeah,
have I ever seen a graph like this before?
Based.
I don't
Based.
say, I wouldn't use those words,
No way,
but
never.
you know, some of you might say, if you
Chap
buy
knows.
this, you deserve to lose money, right?
Yeah, you
And
do.
Yes,
You do.
I'll grant you. I'll grant
Yes.
you that if you bought Adam 22's
You're an idiot.
coin,
You're a moron.
that is a financial
You're a
error.
dumbass.
that
Absolutely.
You are going to learn a lesson from.
So stupid.
However, we can't let these con artists come in
He's right.
and do this. I mean, they think they can get away with
He
anything.
says, weak dude. Oh, thumbs. Oh, boo.
They can't. Yes,
You think you're gonna be inviting me on your show, saying how much you like me, how bad it is for these.
Maybe I should make DEI coin, and then it'll cause everybody to lose money.
I agree.
I think that's a really good idea, right?
We need more
Scumbag
DEI coin
influencers.
people.
Let that
We do.
200K though. Kind of regret not doing it.
I'll put
Not
my
getting
10
bagged.
cents into it.
Just, you think that I'm not gonna call you out on this?
Yeah.
That's insane. I say weak, dude.
This is why I said this can't be real Adam 22. Because I don't know how anyone could be stupid enough to admit to stuff like this. Like, real celebrities don't do this. I mean, they don't. They don't even ever answer. Celebrities don't answer. They don't have this. Celebrities that I know, okay? Real celebrities I know, they don't have this open. They don't. They have it all closed. They don't allow direct messages. They don't allow PMs. You know, there's certain ways that you have to go through their agent and everything. With celebrities, that's how you do it. You want to get in touch with them, get a hold of their press agent and stuff like that. You know? And of course, some of them tell me, get on my OnlyFans, pay me a sum, get on here and talk to me. Or it's like, oh boy. You know where that's going.
I do brand deals for random stuff all the time. I do brand deals for devices that allow you to inhale flavored air.
Is this the
Doesn't
real
seem any
Ad-Toy
different.
To be honest, I think that promoting the, what do you call it, the galaxy gas is also bad. But I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like a lot of that's kind of like vape. Oh, is it vaping? Okay, yeah, I guess that's different. About fume, okay, it's not galaxy gas. I thought it was because he mentioned it earlier. I don't know.
Now, again, another common code that Adam would know about if he watched the channel like he says he does. He says he loves the
I
channel.
bet he watched the channel.
Everyone knows that financial products are different from like regular brand deals or something, right? You're like, if somebody buys some $20 little gadget, and it's not that good. Okay, we could maybe call that a scam, but it's not at the same level of selling a financial product, which is like, you're not like giving away phone numbers for people to call from call centers to scam people.
Yeah.
You're not, leading people to the slaughter financially. Adam 22 is pitching explicitly this is going to be the biggest meme coin on Solana while having nothing to do with it. Not even knowing who actually is running the coin. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say
Cup coin.
the word here.
Yes, thank you.
It's cup coin.
But you all know what it is.
You know it. I know it. Everybody knows
So this
it.
whole thing
It's
is
based off of chickens because that's the sound they make.
ridiculous, and we know why he's doing it. Why isn't he taking another flavored air deal, right?
Because they're paying a
Well,
lot of money.
although he didn't tell me how much he got paid.
How much?
We can take a guess.
How
of
much?
why Adam 22 is doing this. I watched your
Yes,
video once and
kid,
seeing them
too.
make 200K. I kind of regretted it. Haha.
So it has to be more than 200K.
Haha. Indeed. Well,
Gotcha,
Adam 22,
bitch.
you have joined the long list of influencer grifters who do not care about their fans, do not care about their audience. I would say shame on you, but you might like it. I hope the money was worth it.
It's really annoying when video game gets...
Adam 22.
I'm gonna link y'all the video. That was a good one. And yeah, there it is. And I moved all my stuff over there. Yeah. This is so fucking funny. Thinking these people care about their fans, they don't. And the thing is that there's like a certain subset of like content creator that basically just does whatever the fuck they want, like Jake Paul, Adam22, Aiden Ross, and like nobody really cares. Like it's like basically like Jack Doherty, like nobody gives a shit. People just accept anything they do. It doesn't matter at all. Do you care about us? No influencer cares about their audience, bro. I think that that's fair to say, but you have to also say that it's on a spectrum, right? It's not like nobody cares and that means that it's like 100% this way. Yeah, probably on the list though. Yeah, does anyone watch Adam22? Only we can fuck them up? I mean, I don't think so. I think that what needs to happen here is that there needs to be a degree of legal accountability. That's the issue.
And the government, this is another case where government doesn't care about the people so much. Like you say differently with Doge, that's different stuff. And so of what Trump's doing with the illegals. But for the most part, the government doesn't give a shit about us. They don't have laws in place where it has to protect us from AI stuff or scams like this or technology, surveillance, reconnaissance on Americans. They do nothing to protect us. They don't. In fact, they pass more laws to do more shit on us. More surveillance, more reconnaissance on us. More for AI taking our jobs, stealing our content, my content, other people's content. They don't do anything to protect us. Same with stuff like this, with gambling from stupid ShitTube, putting in ads on gambling. Google, which needs to be reined in as well. There's all these ads that they have on gambling and stuff. By the way, again, ShitTube. This is freedom of the press. I think you forget your place because, like I keep saying, I don't respect you whatsoever when you've done shit to me, like take away my views. You put me into a dark place, into the shadow realm and everything. I'm going to attack you. I'm going to go after you on other platforms where I'm going to talk shit about you, about the truth, because this is freedom of the press, what I'm doing here. And when you treat me like shit, I'm the last out going to attack you, YouTube. I'm going to do that. I didn't do that. With how you treated me over the years and everything. You know what you did is wrong. I'm reporting stuff. I didn't get paid 10 cents for this. And Section 230 is to protect you for stuff like this. You don't deserve shit. You don't deserve protection. You don't deserve Section 230. Actually, you should be stripped of all government protection, ShitTube. Fuck you. I know you guys are watching YouTube. I know you are. I know these copyright idiots are doing the same thing. I see you. I see you. And when you don't protect us, this isn't just about content creation. This is about reporting the news and getting stuff out there to the people all around the world for truth. Nobody holds a copyright to any of this stuff. Nobody. This is for everybody. This is for the world to see stuff about truth about UFOs, ETs, psychic stuff. And like I told you, I sent you, you know I sent you. I cussed you guys out as well in that because of the BS you've done to me. It sounds to other content creators as well for different reasons, taking away their views and stuff like that. You think I'm just gonna let you do that, not attack you back and lash out? Fuck no. No, I just say it. I didn't call you bullshitters and everything. I'll continue to do that. Because I'm sick and tired of your bullshit. And he shouldn't have any protections when you censor me and others like this. You do it to a lot of other people. You know it's wrong, but you do. You can say, oh, we have, no, you don't. No, you don't. Okay, on Twitch and other places, they don't have the same thing. They don't. It's only you. Stop lying your ass off. I'm not trying to infringe on anybody's copyright. I'm transformative. I put my own experiences there. I'm not airing any of these people's stuff like it's my own. You know that. You cunts. Is what you are. You fucking cunts. I'm done.